A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, first cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to juvenile division. You get a call from a high school principal. A young boy has caused a near riot in his classroom. Your job? Investigate. Here's what the nation's press has had to say about king-size Chesterfield.
U.S. Tobacco Journal says, Boston dealers and jobbers reported this new companion of the regular size is sweeping the market in sales, and stocks cannot be replaced fast enough.
The Wall Street Journal said, a wholesaler says the problem isn't selling them. It's getting enough to meet the demand.
Dealers all over the country tell us no product they ever handled has grown so fast in so short a time as king-size Chesterfields.
King-size cigarettes give you quantity, but only Chesterfield king-size gives you quantity plus quality, premium quality.
Chesterfield king-size contains tobaccos of better quality and higher price than any other king-size cigarette.
Of course, it's the same fine tobacco as in regular Chesterfield. In fact, the only difference between Chesterfield king-size and Chesterfield regular is that the king-size is larger, contains more of these same tobaccos, enough to give you a 21% longer smoke, yet costs very little more.
So remember, Chesterfield is the first to give you premium quality in both regular and king-size.
Buy 'em either way you like 'em. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, October 3rd. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of Juvenile Division. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Stein. My name's Friday. It was 1:47 p.m. when we got to Adams High School. Chemistry class.
You the place?
Yes, sir. It's my partner, Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
I'm John Lane. This is my class. What little there is left of it. Have you seen Mr. Barlow?
Yes, sir. We talked to him when we came in. I think he's in the clinic now. He said you could give us a story. Is that right?
It was the Lambert boy. He came into class about 5 minutes late. We were just starting the lecture on analysis. I told Douglas to take his seat. He said something I couldn't hear, but he went back to his place, and I went on with the lecture. I guess it was about 10 minutes later that the commotion started. The first thing I knew about it, Larry McLean started to yell at Lambert, said something about keeping his mouth closed. Then Lambert said something about McLean minding his own business. I started off the platform to quiet things down. By the time I got to Douglas, he'd hit McLean. Well, after that, it's all a little confused. Flying apparatus, chemicals being thrown all over the place, glass breaking. The whole class seemed to explode.
Well, were the other members of the class fighting, or was it just the two boys?
It seemed like the whole class was fighting. At the time, it seemed like the whole school was in the room, all throwing things. Finally, I got the Lambert boy aside, and then the fight seemed to stop. In the meantime, he'd thrown a bottle of sulfuric acid at McLean, burned his face and his chest. The ambulance took him to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, and a nurse here gave him first aid.
Well, do you have any idea what started the argument here?
No, I'm not sure. As I got it later, it seems that Douglas made some remark about a young girl working next to him. I didn't hear it, but I gathered that it was a pretty filthy statement. McLean heard it, and that's when he told Douglas to keep his mouth closed.
Lambert is known as a sort of troublemaker, then, is he?
Yes, and it's so hard to understand.
Sir?
Well, up until just lately, I'd say the last 2 months or so, he was a model student. He had a straight A average.
I wonder if we could see the boy.
I guess so. There isn't anything much I can do here. Terrible. It'll be a couple of weeks before I can hold a class in here again. It's terrible.
Yes, sir.
The clinic's down here.
Have you any idea what might have caused this change in the Lambert boy?
Well, I have my own suspicions, but he's only 15. It's hard to believe.
What's that, sir?
When he came into class today, I think he was drunk.
Oh, why do you say that?
I noticed that when he came into the room, he wasn't very steady on his feet. It'd have to be something like that to make him do this. Then, too, when I grabbed him when they were fighting, I thought I smelled liquor on his... Oh, we go in here.
Fine.
Here's the boy. Douglas?
Yes, sir.
These men would like to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
They're from the police. Mr. Friday, and this is Mr. Smith.
Hello?
How are you? Sit down, son.
Yes, sir.
How's Larry?
I don't know. They took him to the hospital.
If you don't mind, Mr. Friday, I'll check with the nurse, see how badly Larry was hurt.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. Now, son, you want to tell us what this is all about?
There's not much to tell. Larry and me got in a fight.
Well, what started the fight, son?
I don't know. He just wanted to cause trouble. Him and me never have gotten along. Always had trouble.
You been drinking, Doug?
Why do you ask that?
Because I want to know. Have you been drinking? How about it, boy?
No. Where would I get something to drink?
Well, now, something's a little wrong here, son. According to what Mr. Lane tells us. Looks like you might have been drunk when the fight started. He tells us that you said something to a young girl in the class. That's what started the whole thing.
You know he's lying?
Is he?
Sure. He's on Larry's side. The two of them are real thick.
That's not what he told us, Doug. From what he said, he's pretty fond of you. Said he couldn't figure out what happened to you lately.
Well, he's okay, but why does he say I was loaded? That's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, especially if you weren't. I'll tell you what, Doug. Let's get a traffic investigation car over here and take a toxometer test, huh, just to be sure.
Why? What'll that prove?
Well, we'll straighten it out once and for all, whether you're drunk or not.
How about it, boy? Shall I call the car?
Doug?
No, you don't have to do that. I had a couple of drinks. Nothing serious, though. Just a couple of drinks. Nothing wrong with that, is there?
Where'd you get the liquor, son?
I don't remember.
No, this won't work, boy. We'll find out. You know that.
Well, I don't see what difference it's going to make where I got it. I've been drinking a couple of years. I know how to handle it. I know what I'm doing.
Mr. Friday?
Yes, sir?
You see him in?
Well, sure.
What's going on? Something wrong with Larry?
I don't know, son.
I thought he was okay when they took him to the hospital. The nurse said she took care of it. They said he was going to be okay.
All right, boy. Let's go.
Where are you taking me?
We want to talk to you downtown.
Something has gone wrong, hasn't it? Something's wrong with Larry. He's dead.
No, son. Larry's all right. He's burned, but he's going to be all right.
You're lying. I know. You want to take me to jail.
Well, that's not true, son. We just want to find out where you got the liquor.
Yeah. Well, I haven't done anything. A couple of drinks, that's all. What's the harm in that?
Come on, son. You've got a lot to explain.
Okay, take me in. Put me in jail. I don't care what happens.
Yeah, you've already proved that. 2:26 p.m. Frank and I talked to Charles Barlow, the vice principal of the school. He told us the same story that we'd gotten from John Lane. He said that until a few months before, Douglas Lambert had been a model student. He was above average in his classwork and took part in all school activities. Suddenly, and without apparent reason, he had become the number one troublemaker in his class. His attendance record became one of the worst, and his attitude toward his teachers was arrogant and discourteous. The principal told us the same attitude was being displayed by other students in the school. We notified Mrs. Lambert that we were taking him to Georgia Street Juvenile for questioning. We filled in Captain Stein on the developments, and then Frank and I questioned the Lambert boy. He was sullen and uncooperative.
I don't know what you want with me. A little fight, that's all it was. Why are you guys trying to make something big out of it?
You've already done that, Doug. Maybe you don't know what you've really done. Maybe we ought to fill you in on a few things.
That might not be such a bad idea. Tell me how I'm a criminal. Tell me I was a bad boy. Go ahead, tell me.
Don't get smart, son.
What do you want me to do? Sit here and listen to you guys yak at me? You expect me just to sit here and let you guys tie a rap on me that I haven't got coming? You got one thing on me. I had a couple of drinks, that's all. A couple of drinks. No harm in that. I don't feel so good. Why don't you guys leave me alone? I got a headache.
Larry McLean's got more than a headache.
So the kid shouldn't have started anything he couldn't finish. He wanted to be a big man in front of the class. He was. Now he's hurt and he's trying to blame me. It won't work, Cop, and you know it.
That's enough of that.
I'm a minor. You can't touch me.
That's the trouble with you, kid. You think because you're under 18, the laws don't mean you.
You can't touch me and you know it.
Don't worry, Doug. Nobody's going to touch you, but let me tell you a couple of things. You sit here and figure you're a big man, a real tough kid.
You don't have to tell me.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm getting sick and tired of having kids like you waltz around the streets, your minds and hands filthy, bragging about what big men you are. You do what you want. You don't care about what it means to the people around you. How you hurt them doesn't matter. Everything's fine until you do something wrong and we nail you. Right away you start screaming minor, that you're a juvenile, just a kid acting normal. You steal a car for a joyride. An officer starts after you, you don't care who gets in front of the car as long as you get away. You don't let anybody stand in your way. Men, women, kids, they're all the same to you. Run them down. Show them that you're just a healthy kid out for some fun. After all, you're just a kid. The laws weren't meant for you. You're different. Well, there's another kid lying in the hospital right now. He's got real trouble. He got in your way. He didn't feel that you had any special rights. Be a big man, Doug. You go tell him that you knew what you were doing when you threw that acid at him. You tell him that you were just having a little carefree fun. Tell him that you know how to handle liquor. Tell him that he's going to spend a long time with a plastic surgeon because you're just a kid. You tell him that his face is going to be like that because you're just a normal, healthy, growing boy. I hope you're real proud of yourself. I hope you feel good. You've burned it right into your brain. There isn't any place you can go to get away from it. All right, boy, let's go.
Wait a minute, Mr. Friday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I acted like that.
All right, you want to try to make things right with Larry? You want to help us out on this thing?
Yeah, I guess so. Where do I start?
Where'd you get the liquor?
A place near school. Kids call it Sam's Club.
What's the address?
I don't know. I'll show you the place.
You say it's a club?
Well, sort of. You have to know the ropes before you can get in the place.
What do you mean, the ropes?
Well, they only let kids in. You ring the bell to the house, and then when they answer, you stand there with a $5 bill in your hand. Mm-hmm. That way they know you're okay.
Who is this Sam?
I don't know his last name. The kids just call him Sam.
He run this place all by himself?
No, there's his wife, Inez. She's usually around.
Just these two around the place, huh?
Yeah, that's all I know about. It always seemed to me that Inez was really the brain. She was always telling Sam what to do.
How'd you find out about this place, Doug?
One of the kids at school told me about it. He took me there one night. Then after he introduced me to Sam and Inez, I started to go there by myself.
What's it like inside? They have a bar or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. You walk into the living room, and there's a big bar along the right wall. All chrome and leopard skin. Real nice. There's a few tables around and a record player.
Yeah. They sell anything else in this place besides liquor?
I don't think I know what you mean.
You know what we mean, Doug.
Yeah, I guess I do.
Well, how about it?
Well, yeah, you can buy tea if you want it.
Mm-hmm. This $5 routine, what happens to it?
Well, drinks are 6 bits apiece. Sticks are $1.50. If you want to give them the 5 as you come in, you can have as much as you want. Otherwise, you pay for each thing as you get it.
You ever smoke marijuana?
Well, almost all the kids there do.
How about you?
If you don't, the other kids call you a coward.
Well, you still haven't answered the question.
Yeah, I've smoked it a couple of times.
Can you give us the names of the other youngsters who go to this place?
Well, wait a minute. I'll help all I can, but I'm not going to be a squealer.
I don't think it's squealing, Doug.
Yeah, well, you don't have to give the names.
Why not look at it this way, boy? You got trouble because of this Sam and Inez. Now, the same thing could happen to one of the other kids that go to this place. You want that to happen?
No,
Well, the best way to see that it doesn't is to tell us all you know about the place. Isn't that right?
I guess so. I'll give you the names.
Do they allow girls in this place, too?
Yeah, as long as you know the $5 bill gimmick, anybody can get in.
They allow adults?
No, if they figure you're over 18, they won't let you in. Especially at the Saturday night parties.
What kind are those?
Every Saturday night, Sam and Inez throw a party. For $5, you get all you want to drink and smoke. Sam told me once it's a good business. Makes for better customer relations.
Mm-hmm. You ever see any other narcotics on the premises?
I've never actually seen any myself. I've heard that if Sam or Inez know you real well, you can get a pop of heroin. But like I said, I've never seen it myself. Most of the kids that I know, the ones from school, just go there for drinks.
Anything else you think we ought to know?
No, nothing that I can think of.
How about these two? Either of them drive a car?
Yeah, Sam has a little Nash Rambler, dark green. Once in a while, when we stay over at lunchtime or when we're late getting home, he drives us home or back to school.
All right, Doug. Your mother ought to be here by now. If we need your help in getting Sam and Inez, we can count on it, huh?
Yeah, I'll help all I can.
Okay, son. Let's go.
Say, Sergeant.
Yeah?
I'm sure sorry about the way I acted. Really made a fool of myself. I hope you'll forgive me.
That's all right.
But you'd think there'd be an easier way, wouldn't you?
What's that, son?
To grow up.
We checked the names Sam and Inez through R&I and came up with a Sam and Inez Bailey. Both of them had long records for contributing to the delinquency of minors. Both had served time in the county jail. Douglas Lambert was shown mugshots of the couple and identified them as the owners and operators of Sam's Club. We checked with Captain Stein about picking them up, and it was agreed that the best way would be to catch them in the act of selling liquor and narcotics to juveniles. We talked to the Lambert boy, and he told us that it was the custom of the Baileys to hold a party every Saturday night. He told us that most of the youngsters who frequented the place would be there at that time. He put in a call to the house, but there was no answer. 6:15 p.m. Frank and I drove out to the place. It was a small cottage on the back of the lot. The landlord occupied the house in front. We rang the bell to the manager's house. Yeah? Mr. Halsey? Yeah? Police officer, sir. My name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
How do you do? I'm Mr. Halsey.
Want to come in?
Well, it might be better, sir. We'd like to talk to you about the Baileys.
Worst tenants I ever had. I knew they'd end up with the police.
Why do you say that, sir?
Well, I just do, that's all. They got a lease on the house, and if I could figure a way to get them out, I sure would. They're always causing trouble. All those kids.
Yes, sir. Do you have any idea where they are now?
Why, you going to arrest them? I hope so. Maybe I can break the lease that way.
You know where they might be now, sir?
No, I don't know. They shoved off this afternoon. They didn't say where they was going. They just left.
I wonder if you could let us see their house, sir.
Why?
Well, we'd like to look it over. Sorry.
Well, I don't know. What do you want them for?
We think they're selling liquor to minors.
Yes, they do a thing like that. The noise they made, the neighbors on both sides have been screaming.
Can you let us into their house?
You just bet I can. Wait, I'll get the key. Here's someplace. But, put in one of those little key rings. You know, the kind with the rabbit's foot?
Yes, sir.
Sorry to keep your officers waiting. I know I'm always away. If you want something, you can always lay your hand right on it. And then when you're looking for it... Oh, here it is. See, the rabbit foot.
Yes, sir.
Well, you can go out the back door, this way.
All right, fine.
Well, what are you looking for? What do you figure you'll find back there?
We're not sure, sir. Frank,
Yeah, Joe?
you want to stay out here and let us know if they come back?
Yeah, I'll wait in front of the house.
All right.
You know, it's funny about them.
What's that, sir?
Well, when they first moved in, they said they wanted the locks on the door changed. I told them it'd be okay, but they'd have to give me a key to the place. They had quite a ruckus about it, but I stood in my ground. They wasn't going to buffalo me, no, sir. Here, I'll get the lock.
All right, sir.
Okay. Gee, smells like they haven't had a window open in a year, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Look what they've done to this room. They built a bar and everything. You sure were right about them. I think I can break the lease on this. I'm pretty sure. It says in the contract that they can't do any building without my permission, and I certainly didn't give them any okay on this.
Yes, sir. This the dining room?
Yeah, that's it. Just pull those doors back. What's that smell, Sergeant?
I'm not sure, but I think it might be narcotics.
Drugs. I knew it. I knew it all along. Oh, just wait till they get back. I'm really going to tell them. I really am.
Rather you didn't do that, sir.
What?
Rather you didn't let them know that we were in here, that you know anything about this.
Well, why? You're going to arrest them, aren't you? You're not going to let them get away with this.
No, sir, but we understand they've got a party planned here tomorrow night. If we wait until then, we can make a charge stick.
Oh, you mean they're going to have a drunken brawl? The kids here smoking marijuana, taking heroin and stuff like that?
Well, we're not going to let them go that far, sir. We're going to need your cooperation here, Mr. Halsey.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Well, sir, we want to install listening equipment in here. We'd like to use your house.
You mean you're going to bug the place?
Well, yes, sir. We'd like to put in microphones.
Well, will it hurt the property? I mean, would you have to put nails in the walls, stuff like that?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Oh, well, then you can do it. Yes, sir, I want to help, Sergeant. That's the trouble with people nowadays. They don't want to help. You just go right ahead and put your microphones in, just as long as you don't have to nail anything in the wall.
All right, sir. If we could go back to your house, I'd like to use the phone if it's all right.
You bet. Closing that so they won't know anybody's been here, huh?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. Don't guess if I leave any fingerprints on the door, it'll hurt.
No, sir, I don't think it will.
No. Can't be too careful, though, But then I guess you know all about things like that. Huh?
Yes, sir. I'll go around front and get my partner.
Yeah, sure thing. You fellas all work in teams like this?
Yes, sir, most of the time.
Well, I never knew that before.
Do you have any idea at all where the Baileys might have gone? They give you any indication at all, sir?
No, I saw them leave this afternoon, just got in the car and left.
Did they take any luggage with them, suitcases, would you know?
Not that I could see, no.
Ah, you find anything?
Yeah, the bar's in the living room.
Oh, then what the Lambert kid said was true, huh?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Tell them about the dope in the dining room, how you open the door and smell the fumes.
Marijuana?
Yeah, it smells like that.
Find any?
No, I didn't go over the place too good. I thought if we were going to wire the place, we better get on it.
Yeah.
If we could just use your phone, sir?
Oh, yeah, you bet. Come on in. Right there, on the table in the hall.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Isn't a toll call, is it?
No, sir.
Well, of course, not to make any difference. Just thought I'd ask.
Yes, sir.
You figure this will get in one of those detective magazines?
Well, I don't know, sir. We've got nothing to do with that.
Well, of course, I didn't figure that you did, but if it does, I hope they spell my name right. It's S-E-Y.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Some people forget the E, you see.
Uh-huh.
Spell it with just the Y.
2838, please. Asdale, it's Joe Friday. I want to install a ditchograph at 825 North Lucerne. Yeah, 825 North. Mm-hmm. Right away. Yeah, well, you know better than I do. When you see the place, you can figure it. Yeah, the house in the front of the lot. What? Oh, maybe 30, 35 yards. Yeah, okay. Right away. Yeah, good. We'll be in the house in front. Yeah, all right, we'll see you then.
All set?
Yeah, Asdale's coming right out.
Good.
You say, Sergeant,
Yes, sir?
I just happened to think of something. Might not mean anything.
What's that, sir?
The other day, I think it was Monday. Yes, I'm sure it was Monday because I just come back from the laundry. You know, I always pick up my stuff on Monday.
Yes, sir.
Well, when I came back, I met Mr. Bailey. He was puttering around with the car. I asked him if he was going to take a trip. He said no, but he said he might get out of town for a little bit. I asked him if I knew anything about the roads.
What roads, Mr. Halsey?
Down to Mexico.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
And now, a report every smoker should hear.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report ever published about any cigarette. And it applies only to Chesterfield.
A responsible consulting organization has reported the results of a continuing study by a competent medical specialist and his staff on the effects of smoking Chesterfield cigarettes. A group of people from various walks of life was organized to smoke only Chesterfields. For 6 months, this group of men and women smoked their normal amount of Chesterfields, 10 to 40 a day. 45% of the group have smoked Chesterfields continually from 1 to 30 years, for an average of 10 years each. At the beginning and at the end of the 6 months period, each smoker was given a thorough examination, including X-ray pictures, by the medical specialist and his assistants. The examination covered the sinuses, as well as the nose, ears, and throat. The medical specialist, after a thorough examination of every member of the group, stated,
It is my opinion that the ears, nose, throat, and accessory organs of all participating subjects examined by me were not adversely affected in the 6 months period by smoking the cigarettes provided.
Remember this Chesterfield report. It's the first such report ever published about any cigarette.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields.
Buy Chesterfield either way you like 'em, regular or king size. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
The men from the crime lab arrived and installed the listening equipment. A stakeout was placed on the house, but the Baileys failed to return that night. At 8:46 a.m. Saturday morning, the men covering the house called to say that the Baileys had just driven in. Frank and I got in touch with Douglas Lambert and his parents. With their permission, we laid out the plan for that night. It was agreed that the boy would arrive at the house at about 8:30 p.m. When the other youngsters had been served drinks, he would give us a signal by starting in to cough. When we came into the house, he would try to secure as many of the drinks as possible for evidence. We told him that there would be officers all around the house and that at no time was he to place himself in jeopardy with Sam, Inez, or any of the other youngsters. 7:30 p.m., Frank and I took up our positions in the back bedroom of the owner's house, turned on the dictograph, and waited. The Baileys were discussing the party. Sam was talking about how he watered the whiskey. At 8:27 p.m., 4 youngsters arrived. They rang the doorbell, and when Sam opened the door, they displayed the required bill. He nodded and ushered them into the living room.
Well, they did a good job in there, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Really hear it.
Mm-hmm. Lambert boy should be here pretty quick.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like they're starting anything in there yet, does it?
No. How long do you figure we wait before we go in?
As soon as he starts to cough.
You check with the other men?
Yeah, Turner and Brown are covering the back of the place. Lindsay and Carter and a couple of policewomen are parked down the street. You can see the car down there.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Huh?
Looks like the Lambert kid now coming up the walk.
Yeah, it is.
I hope everything goes all right.
All right, let's turn it up a little more, huh? Is that better? Yeah.
I'll get it, honey. Change that record, will you? I heard it 4 times.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Doug. Come on in. Thanks, huh? Wasn't sure you'd be here tonight. What made you figure that? You know I wouldn't miss one of these. I just figured you might have gotten a little trouble with everything. No, it's all right now. Yeah, well, take it easy tonight, huh? Sure, Sam.
Who is it, honey?
Doug Lambert.
Hi, Doug. You having any trouble with that McLean kid?
No, I was telling Sam the cops talked to me for a while. They didn't have anything on me, so they had to let me go.
You didn't tell him anything about this place, did you?
Of course not. You know I wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't, Inez. I told you Doug's all right. We can trust him.
This thing's worrying me. The cops get wise to this place and we really got problems.
Oh, honey, I tell you it's okay. Don't worry about it. Come on, let's get on with the sociable. What do you have, Doug?
Whiskey, I guess.
Good deal. You want a stick? Got some fresh stuff in, real good.
Yeah, sure.
That's my boy. You know, Doug, I like you. You're a good kid. Some of the other guys come in here. I guess Inez is right about them. They're jerks, but well, I feel I can trust you. Oh, excuse me. Well, you've got to fix the other kids up. Okay, what'll it be? Kid, you got something in your throat?
I don't know. It just started to
Come on, Frank. Door's locked. Let's hit it.
What's going on? Who are you guys?
Police officers, you're under arrest.
What for? What are you trying to pull?
Hold it, everybody, right where you are.
Did you hear it all, Sergeant?
Yeah, Doug, we did.
Hear what? You in on this, Doug?
I told you not to trust any of them. I told you, but you wouldn't listen.
You want to kill the phonograph, Frank? Where do you get the marijuana, Doug?
Out of that drawer, there in back of the bar.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Right here, Doug?
It was way in the back.
Shut up, you.
Al. What about these, Sam?
I don't know what you're talking about. I never saw those before.
All right, mister, let's go. I'll get Turner and Brown. They can take care of the kids. Right.
You and your ideas. I told you we shouldn't have come back. I told you.
Oh, knock it off. Shut your mouth, will you?
I told you last night we should have kept driving, but oh, no, you figure we got a sweet racket here. You don't want to change it. It's good, you said. Yeah? How does it look now?
Look, I'm telling you, take it easy.
All right, let's go, huh?
It's the way it is, Sergeant. Try to make a living for a woman, make things nice. The first time something goes wrong, she starts to squawk. Never failed. You're riding high, everything's fine.
Him and his living, always trying to build something up, always trying to figure out a way to beat the game. One big deal, one big thing to set him up for good.
Yeah, well, I think he made it this time. Let's go.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On January 14th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, as you know on Dragnet, we've always tried to emphasize the importance of facts, and when we talk to you about Chesterfield, we give you the facts. You heard the report George Fenneman read earlier. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. That's the first such report ever published about any cigarette. Remember that report and make Chesterfield your cigarette. Get 'em, regular or king size. Chesterfield, the best possible smoke, much milder.
Samuel G. Bailey and Inez R. Bailey were filed on under the Health and Safety Code, Section 11,500, possession and sale of narcotics, and found guilty on one count. They were found guilty on 2 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Violation of Section 11,500 of the Health and Safety Code is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not more than 5 years, or imprisonment in the county jail. Contributing to the delinquency of a minor is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail for a period of not more than 1 year. The boy, Douglas Lambert, was made a ward of the juvenile court.
Ladies and gentlemen, where the community chest is at work, Red Feather Services, like youth programs and clinics, hospitals, and the USO, give direct help to 2 families out of 5 every year. And indirectly, everybody benefits. Because community chest services make America's cities and towns healthier, happier places to live. So give generously to your community chest. Pledge enough for all the community campaigns that are united under the Red Feather banner.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Sam Edwards, Vic Rodman. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Tomorrow, sound off for Chesterfields. Either way you like 'em, regular or king size, Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, International Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Jeff Regan, Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery, suspense, and adventure in tonight's story of The Two Little Sisters.
When a 6-foot, 200-pound guy turns up with a knife in his back, maybe a short 100 pounds of cool green-eyed blonde did it. And maybe she didn't. Well, this time there were two blondes, sisters. They looked alike, but they were about as much alike as a sheepdog and a cobra. Goes to show you can't tell by the package. Their names were Zemansky, Mary and Dolly Zemansky. They worked for the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. It was old E. Happy Pastime himself who was sitting in the Lion's office when I got there about noon.
Jeffrey, my boy, glad you've come in. I'd like you to meet our new client, proprietor of the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. No doubt you've heard of them, Jeffrey?
Sure. How are you?
Laryngitis? Yeah, our friend here is troubled with laryngitis, Jeffrey. Purely psychological. A result of worry, profound worry. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. Yes. Well, Jeffrey...
What do we do?
Now, Jeffrey, I'm glad you asked that question. To tell the truth, I envy you. Fine opportunity for you to get out of the city while I sit here sweltering in this heat. You, Jeffrey...
Get to the point.
Well, yes. Well, Jeffrey, the fact is our friend here leaves on the 2 o'clock plane for Phoenix, Arizona. Advance arrangements for the carnival.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, meantime, the star performer of Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows, a girl named... Oh, now where's that piece of paper? I jotted it down. Oh, here we are. Dolly Zemansky, the Queen of the Blades.
Ice skater?
Knife thrower.
Oh, I get it.
She's a knife thrower with the show, Jeffrey. Best in a line, they say.
Well, what's the trouble?
That's just it. Someone's been threatening her, a man named Rand. It's upsetting her, Jeffrey. Beginning to show in her work. That's what worries our client here.
What's Rand got on her?
Well, I don't know, Jeffrey. Our client doesn't know. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. But we'll retain to find out. And get rid of him. Exactly. Get rid of him. Get rid of him, Jeffrey.
Like the Lion said, it was a chance to get out of the city. I drove Father Time back out to his carnival. He had to pick up his stuff and then make the 2 o'clock plane at International Airport. The carnival was set up on a couple of vacant lots out on Sepulveda. Big sign, Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows. Tents, trailers, Ferris wheels, sawdust, the usual stuff. The old guy pointed out Dolly Zemansky's trailer, and I was on my own. I didn't get far. A guy in a 1922 tux, 3 days whiskers, and a turban like a second-hand bird's nest stopped me.
Oh, there. How do you do, sir?
The only legitimate thing about the Swami was his breath. That was 90 proof.
You are Regan.
What's that to you?
I am Swami Al-Kaji. Step this way, please, into my tent. I will consult the crystal. The crystal ball tells me many things.
Yeah? Like what?
Sit right here, Mr. Regan.
Thanks.
The crystal ball tells me, Mr. Regan, that you've been hired to help Dolly Zemansky. Tells me you have been hired by... by the owner of our little carnival.
How much of that did he tell you?
Yes, Mr. Regan, it was he who told me. I saw you arrive together.
What do you know about Rand?
Fred Rand, let me see. Yes, let me see. The crystal ball is cloudy. The sand of time runs through the glass, Mr. Regan.
Cut it out.
What do you mean?
You're a Swami like Truman's a Republican.
Yes, true. Well, have a drink, Mr. Regan. I see much more in this than in the crystal ball. Yes. Say when.
When?
Here you are.
Thanks.
I'm a four-finger man myself, Mr. Regan. Been my ruin.
You said you had information.
Yes, there are 2 sisters.
Zemansky?
Yes, Dolly and Mary.
Who's Mary?
The younger sister.
She new to the show?
A few months with us.
Her sister get her the job?
Yes, Dolly Zemansky's our star performer. Naturally, she has influence.
Okay. What about Rand?
I will consult the crystal ball.
Look, I don't get paid by the hour. What's Rand got on Dolly Zamansky?
I don't know.
No?
I see letters forming in the crystal.
Okay, play it your way.
F, Z. I can't see any more now. Perhaps if you'd care
See you
to...
later.
Mr. Regan, Mr. Regan!
Maybe the Swami had something to sell. But if I couldn't get it for free, I could go back and buy it later. It was only a little ways to Dolly Zamansky's trailer. Big, expensive job. Everything was wide open because of the heat, so I walked in. Nobody home. Ladies' clothes lying around, theatrical makeup, grease paint stick. Picture of some round-faced guy with a crew cut signed, yours adoringly, no name. Knives and daggers around. And a frosty blonde with green eyes in the doorway watching me.
What are you doing in here?
Homework?
It's clever.
Who are you?
That's what I ought to ask you.
Oh, guess. You're Dolly Zamansky.
No, I'm her sister.
Mary Zamansky.
Yes.
I'm Jeff Regan, International Detective Bureau.
You're a detective?
That's it. You joined the carnival about 4 months ago.
5 months.
5 months. Been in show business before?
No, I was a boy back home, but I...
That him?
What?
Photo on the dressing table.
No. Sister Pine.
Pine?
He's in love with my sister.
Pine. Pine, don't I?
Harold Pine. J.J. Pine's son.
Yeah?
You know, Pine warehouses. They're all over Los Angeles.
So your sister's going to marry them?
Why, think so.
But maybe she isn't.
Mr. Regan,
Supposing you give me what you know, About 4 days ago, a guy turned up, Rand.
Yes.
Your sister scare easy?
Oh, no, Mr. Regan, that's just it. She's strong-minded. She left home when she was 15.
Go on.
Well, life can't have been easy for her, you know, show business.
Just tell it.
Well, she's independent, Mr. Regan. I've tried to tell her...
What about Rand?
Mr. Regan, I can't tell you.
Lady, I've got a job to do. What about Rand?
I don't know.
Your sister scared of him?
I...
She is or she isn't?
It's something else. She told me she didn't know him. She said he was trying to get fresh, but twice I shouldn't tell you this.
My fee says I help your sister.
All right. There's a little street 2 blocks up Sepulveda. Twice I walked by there this morning and 2 days ago. There was a green sedan parked there both times, and Fred Rand and my sister were in it. They seemed to be arguing. Mr. Regan, that's all I know.
Okay. How do I find your sister?
She performs in the main tent, but she must be just about through. She might be over there.
Okay. See you. I started for the main tent and got about halfway up the midway when he passed me, going down the midway, and into the big shiny trailer. Broad-shouldered, 6-foot guy with red hair. And when he went into the Zamansky sister's trailer, I knew he was Rand. I started for the trailer. I thought I heard voices quarreling. And then I knew something was wrong. That was Mary Zamansky screaming. I hadn't had my eye off the door of that trailer 60 seconds since I left. Nobody went in but Rand. Nobody came out. But I busted fast. I made the last 100 yards like Mel Patton on Dexedrine. But what I saw when I got inside that trailer stopped me cold. It was Mary Zamansky and Rand. But it wasn't like I figured. Mary was hanging onto the wall and staring down at the floor, sobbing. And on the floor was Rand, with a knife in his back. All right, give it to me. Give it to me fast.
No.
What happened? Come on.
No, I can't tell you. I can't.
But you've got 10 seconds before the whole carnival will be in here. What happened? Tell me what happened.
I won't talk.
All right, both of you stand back at the end of the trailer.
Why you...
Sergeant Post, police. Hands above your heads. All right. Clear away now. Clear back, folks. You, Dolly Zamansky?
No, I'm her sister, Mary Zamansky.
Your turn, mister.
Maybe we can take our hands down?
You armed?
Yeah.
Where till I get it? Hip?
Shoulder.
Okay. Let him down.
Thanks.
Got a permit to carry this?
Sure.
Show it.
Regan, private detective, International Detective Bureau. Here's the file copy.
Look good, Regan. You kill this guy? Okay, Regan. Well, maybe you'll tell me who the guy was.
His name was Fred Rand.
That check, Regan?
What I heard.
Maybe you knew Rand, Regan.
Nope.
How'd you get in here so quick?
Heard screams.
Sure.
Oh, what's the use of all this? You both know what happened.
No, what did?
Mr. Rand came in and well, he'd been bothering Dolly. Maybe he thought I was Dolly. We look a little bit alike. And he came in
And? Go on.
He struggled. And I killed him.
It hung together like the Jap Navy. She was sore at Rand because he'd been bothering her sister, so when the big 6-foot guy came into the trailer, she grabbed him and stabbed him in the back. Sure, it could have happened like that. But from the look that came on Sergeant Post's face, I could see he'd try to make it stick. He looked like a hungry kid at a bakery window. He was seeing lieutenant stripes. Well, half an hour later, Mary went off for the ride downtown in the paddy wagon. I figured it was a funny thing Dolly Zemansky hadn't showed up. I decided to look for her. She wasn't around. She'd finished her act a little bit before the ruckus started, and it looked like nobody had seen her since. Then I saw a tent with some stars and crescent moons painted on the front, and that reminded me of something. A phony Swami with information for sale. He was inside. All right, Swami, get busy on that crystal ball and dish up some answers.
Yes.
Like FZ.
Yes. The letters FC. The crystal is clearly...
Oh, clear it. It's a murder rap now. FZ what? Rand.
Yes, Mr. Regan.
Fred Rand.
Mrs. Fred Zemansky Rand.
Dolly Zemansky was his wife. Now you've said something. That gave me something to work on, but halfway to my car, I remembered something else. Something Mary Zemansky had said. A green sedan parked twice in the same place. Maybe it was parked there a third time. It figured the owner wouldn't be driving it away. He was taking a free ride as a guest of the county to the morgue. It was there, green sedan, on the little street 2 blocks up Sepulveda. The door was unlocked. The registration on the steering post read Fred Rand. That figured. The address was on a street called Delancey in San Francisco. But maybe I wouldn't have to go that far. There was a card down on the floorboards. One of those commercial hotel cards. Globe Hotel, Main Street. I stuck it in my pocket. That was when a guy said,
I'm gonna kill you, Fred Rand.
I hit the car door with my shoulder. That knocked him back, but he came in again and tried for me. I blocked it.
Why, you...
That was when I got a good look at him. He was the guy in the picture in the Zemansky sisters' trailer. Yours adoringly, Harold Pine. I'd like to have stuck around and had a little talk with Harold Pine. Maybe he knew some answers. But one answer he didn't know was who killed Fred Rand. When he made that college try on me and called me Rand, it didn't take the FBI to figure he didn't even know Rand was dead. But it looked like Pine was going to be asleep a while, so I went downtown. The Globe Hotel. Last stop on the line for the canned heat crowd. Brass spittoons. Row of cracked leather chairs along the front. 2 or 3 old guys dying in them. Nobody at the desk, so I picked up number 306 from the register and went up. The door wasn't locked. Inside, you could see why. Nothing in the joint but a brass bed. Cardboard suitcase on a chair with a couple of neckties in it. Fred Rand had been traveling white. But there was something else in the suitcase stuck in the lining. Item torn out of the Weekly Variety, the show business sheet. It said a couple of knife throwers named Duncan and Dolly had checked out of Las Vegas for work at a spot called the Blue Dolphin Casino, Los Angeles. The date line was half torn off, but you could make out the 46 at the end. There was a phone on the wall, and I tried the Blue Dolphin Casino. There was nobody home. Too early for a night spot. So I decided to let the Lion work on that one.
International Detective Bureau, Anthony J. Lyon, President speaking.
Lion, I've got something for you.
Jeffrey, I'm glad you called. I've just talked to the proprietor of the Everybody's Happy Pastime Carnival shows from Phoenix.
So we're off the job.
Well, now, Jeffrey, what can we expect? We were retained to get rid of that fellow Rand, to relieve Miss Dolly Zemansky of any undue nervous stress that might endanger the box office value of her performance.
Go on.
Now, Jeffrey, it just seems that, the sister did the job for us.
Sure she did.
Jeffrey, I don't think I understand you.
You can understand this. This job we stick on.
Jeffrey, be reasonable. The matter's in the hands of the police.
They got the wrong goose.
What's that?
I don't think she stabbed a 6-foot guy in the back. I think somebody pitched the strike out in through the window.
Dolly Zemensky?
Maybe. I think that's what her sister thinks. I think that's why she confessed.
Oh, I see what you're driving at now. We're defending the innocent again. We're not in business for money, are we, Regan? Why should we be with the world full of poor unfortunates waiting to be helped?
Cut it out.
Regan, from now on, if you want to work for charity, you work alone. You're fired.
That's the only good news I've had all day. I checked out of Rand's hotel the same way I went in. When I was crossing the street, I saw somebody coming up the other sidewalk. My high school geometry told me that if I walked fast enough, I could get opposite where my car was parked the same time she did. Okay, come on.
Let go of me.
Sister. Get in the car.
Can't do this to me.
You're Dolly Zemensky, and I'm doing it. Get in there. And stay still. I don't like you, Dolly.
How do you know my name?
You look like your sister.
Mary?
Mary.
Who are you?
Never mind.
Well, where are you taking me?
All right, up Hill Street. There's a place to park above Central. There's a nice view of the city jail.
Jail?
That's right, jail. All right, there. Like I said, there's a good view.
What's the pitch, Regan?
How'd you get that?
The Regan? It's on the steering post.
You got good eyes.
Thanks, honey.
I didn't say that way.
So you don't love me. What's the pitch?
See that building down there? It's the city jail. Do you know who's in it?
No.
It's your sister.
Mary?
Mary.
Why?
She says she killed a guy named Fred Rand.
Fred Rand?
Never heard of Fred Rand, then. Then why were you going to the Globe Hotel? You never heard of that either. Talk, will you? Okay, I will. You get the Pine warehouses on the hook. It looks good, but there's just one thing wrong. Fred Rand. You're married to him. The guy turns up. Maybe he heard about Harold Pine. He blackmails you.
Okay, he blackmails me, so what?
So you want to get rid of him. You come back from your act this afternoon with the knives in your hands. You get near the trailer. The window's open. You see Rand inside arguing with his sister. That must have been an easy pitch for the star of the show. Your sister's locked up down there on a murder rap to cover you, and you got nothing to say. Okay. I got nothing on you. Not now. But you'll talk. Later. Now get out. I got business. That gave me nothing, so I went down to the jail to try to see Mary Zemensky again. It took me an hour to find out I wasn't going to get to her. But I did find out one thing. That cop had done his job well. Mary had signed a written confession to the murder of Rand. I got in my car and bucked traffic out to Ventura Boulevard. I hit a gas station and checked the address of the Blue Dolphin. It was in Encino. That meant it was near the carnival and I could pick it up later. Everybody's happy pastime was doing peak business by the time I got there. The Midway was lit up like a sailor on shore leave. But where I went, it was dark. Out and back of the Zemansky sisters' trailer. Maybe I could pick up some proof that Dolly Zemansky pitched that night that killed Rand. I tripped over a tent rope and bumped into something. Wait a minute. Who are you?
I'm Porky.
Come on out in the light.
Yes, sir.
You're Pine.
Yes, sir, I'm Pine. Harold Pine. But they call me Porky. Porcupine. I reckon you could say it's a sort of a joke. Porcupine? It started when I was in college.
Yeah. My name's Regan, private detective.
Oh, I owe you an apology, Mr. Regan. I mean at the car.
Skip it.
I thought you were Fred Rand.
Why were you gunning for him?
Fred Rand? Calls her Dolly.
Dolly Zemensky. You're going to marry her, aren't you?
Well,
What's on your mind?
Well, now that there's been a murder...
Go on.
I think I better tell the truth.
That's a good idea.
You asked me if I was going to marry Dolly. Well, I am married to her. San Bernardino. Last Thursday. My father, J.J. Pine, reckons, Mr. Regan, because of the family money...
Sure. You couldn't have married Dolly Zemansky. She was married to Fred Rand.
Not for 3 years.
Huh?
They was divorced, Mr. Regan.
You know that?
Well, Dolly had the decree. How else could we have got a marriage license?
Did you see the divorce decree?
Oh, yes, sir.
When was it granted?
1946.
Month. You remember?
Yes, October.
Day?
Well, Mr. Regan, I don't see
What day?
October 14th, 1946.
October 14th, 1946. Okay.
Well, Mr. Regan, I don't understand.
Rand showed up again, huh?
Yes, sir.
So you decided to kill him?
He was molesting Dolly.
Sure.
Well, maybe I'd just beat him up.
You're a kid, Pine.
Maybe I am.
You're keeping bad company.
I don't think so.
Who do you think knifed Fred Rand?
I don't rightly know.
What were you looking for in back of that trailer?
Nothing. I didn't think of anything.
You know Dolly's sister, Mary?
I do.
You think she killed Fred Rand?
No.
Then who did?
I don't know.
Okay, Pine. You didn't, anyway.
Well, maybe I was just pretending I didn't know he was dead when I fought with you at his car.
No, Porky. You're not that smart.
Mr. Regan, I reckon that's so.
Next stop was the Blue Dolphin Casino. The manager wasn't there, so I waited around. Must have been almost midnight before he showed.
My bartender tells me you're looking for me.
You're the manager, I am.
You bought it. In here.
You book acts?
Used to.
You ever hear of Duncan and Dolly? Night throwers?
Did they ever play us?
1946. Maybe, October?
I could look it up.
Okay.
Over here. Files, over here.
Plenty of cheesecake on the wall.
Oh, those pictures? Acts that have played us.
Yeah?
Yeah. Autograph photos. The Mandy boy, Mandy is me, we're just scared to love. Dimples Davis. Dimples. You see what I mean?
Yeah. See what you mean.
Yeah. October 1946?
Could be.
No. Hey, wait a second. Last week of September. 26th through the 29th. Last week of September, 1946, Duncan and Dolly...
Let me see that. Dolly Zemansky and Harry Duncan, King and Queen of the Blades. Split week booking, September 26th to 29th, 1946.
I'm thinking King and Queen of the Blades. Wait a second. Behind this locker. Yeah, photos all over the place. I'm just remembering. We keep the leg on out where you can see it, but this stuff, you see... Yeah, like I'm remembering. The Mandys, sincerely, King and Queen of the Blades, Duncan and Dolly.
Let me see that picture.
Yeah. You recognize them?
Yeah, both of them. Dolly and Duncan.
Yeah? What'd it get you?
It gets me my answer. I made it fast back to the carnival. The midway was closed, but I could see a light on in one of the tents. I could hear voices.
No good, stupid. You're a shite. Oh, that's no good.
But when I walked in, the light went off.
Duncan. The lights back on.
That told me where they were. I started. Slow. I waited.
Duncan, don't. Put that knife down. Duncan's enough, man. We've enough.
All right, Duncan, I'm coming. The knife went past, took some air that belonged to me, and stuck in the tent pole. He shoved the table at me, and I shoved it back. He made a try for the tent door, and that was when I got in. Turn the lights on, Dolly. Harry Duncan, a phony swami.
A rat.
You should talk.
He okay?
You'll come out of it.
He killed Rand, thought I'd take the fall.
You let your sister take the fall and kept your trap shut because you were scared of what he knew.
Knew what?
Blue Dolphin Casino, end of September 1946.
How do you know that?
When you were supposed to be in Nevada divorcing Rand. You got to stay there 6 weeks, baby. You can't even leave for 1 day. Figure it out. You're perjured in the Nevada courts. Your divorce is no good. When you married Harold Pine, you weren't divorced from Rand.
Wise guy, Regan.
You don't get Pine. I'll take care of that. Your marriage to him is good. Like a $3 bill.
Thanks. Maybe I can do something for you sometime.
So the Swami killed Rand. That's what I figured wrong. If Mary didn't stick Rand, it had to be a toss job. Somebody had to toss that knife through the trailer window. Somebody professional. I figured you. Till I saw that photo of Duncan and Dolly. Why'd he do it?
Because he hated Rand.
He loved you.
How'd you figure that?
Guys fall in love with dames like you. I don't know why.
We were a duo. Duncan and Dolly. We were going to get married, but I ditched him for Rand.
That figures.
Rand looked good a while. Dunk went on the bottle when I married Rand. Pretty soon he got too shaky for a knife act.
Ended up like this. The phony Swami.
He said Rand had beat his time with me. He said he'd kill Rand if he got the chance. Didn't think he had the nerve.
He's coming out of it. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to talk to Dunk. So long, Regan.
Get out of here! That wrapped it up for me. The police took it from there, and after a few hours at headquarters, I headed back to my apartment. But if I figured it was that easy to get rid of the lion, I was in for a new set of figures. The lion was there, waiting, hat in hand.
Jeffrey, my boy, you've come back at last. I heard all about it. I've been waiting for you, Jeffrey.
Sure. Candle in the window.
Jeffrey, will you ever forgive me? Will you forget the unkind words I've uttered, the meaningless, petty things I've said? Oh, I rue the day I mistrusted you, Jeffrey, my boy. It was madness.
Come off it, Fatso.
But, Jeffrey, I mean it. You were right all along. Mary didn't kill that man. Mary was an innocent girl caught in the tangled web of suspicion. But you, Jeffrey, you defended her in her most trying moments. A noble thing, Jeffrey.
But I'm fired.
Fired? Oh, nonsense, my boy, nonsense. Haven't I apologized? It's just that I feel so sad about that poor child Mary and that Pine fellow without the bride he had taken to his heart. What will they ever do, Jeffrey?
Save your sympathy, Lion. They'll get along.
What? What do you mean by that?
Well, when I last saw them, they were sobbing it out on each other's shoulders.
You mean it, Jeffrey? They've discovered each other? How charming, how positively charming. And with all those millions he has, too. Millions of dollars.
Stop drooling, Fatso. There's nothing in it for you.
No, Jeffrey, I suppose not. But I can dream, can't I?
Jeff Regan, Investigator, is written by William Frug and William Fifield, directed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield. First cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. You got a call that a man has been murdered. His killer is unknown. Your job? Get him. Here's what the tobacco trade press has had to say about Chesterfield's
U.S. Tobacco Journal, Boston, Massachusetts. Chesterfield cigarettes in the new king size is still maintaining large turnovers in this area. Dealers report that sales continue to climb on this size, and it seems that volume on the regular size has climbed to new heights with its big brother.
And Tobacco Leaf reports from Chicago more calls for Chesterfield king-size cigarettes than for most brands being marketed.
Dealers all over the country tell us no product they ever handled has grown so fast in so short a time as king-size Chesterfields.
King-size cigarettes give you quantity, but only Chesterfield king size gives you quantity plus quality. Premium quality.
Chesterfield king size contains tobaccos of better quality and higher price than any other king-size cigarette.
In fact, the only difference between Chesterfield King Size and Chesterfield Regular is that the King Size is larger, contains more of these same tobaccos, enough to give you more than a 1/5 longer smoke.
So remember, Chesterfield is the only cigarette to give smokers premium quality in both regular and king size.
Ask your dealer for Chesterfield. Either way you like them. Premium quality Chesterfields, and much milder.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Saturday, May 12th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. It was 8:04 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
That's you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late, Frank. I got held up in traffic.
Okay, no problem.
I'll sure be there when they get that freeway finished, won't you? Around the end of the pass this time in the morning, you can't go more than 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, cars really climb up around Franklin. Oh, boy, when we get through tonight, I'm going to go straight to bed. I might not even stop to eat.
All right, what's the matter? Have trouble getting sleep last night?
Well, I wouldn't have had any trouble if I'd had the chance to do it.
What do you mean? I don't get it.
My brother-in-law.
Oh, what do you have to do with it?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, he sent away for one of those courses in hypnotism at home. Book got to the house yesterday right away. He's got a new career, going to go into the hypnotism business.
All right.
Yeah. Book tells how if you do it right, you can have full control over people, make them do things you want, all that stuff. Right away, he's got to practice on somebody. We just finished dinner, and I was all settled down to watch television. He comes in with this little book, a little bitty mirror and a candle, and the first thing he lights the candle and tells me to look at it. Concentrate, you know.
Yeah.
I told him to go take a run and jump, and right away Fade joins in and says I don't want him to get ahead. And I said something about the fact that he could use one, and it started. Ends up with me sitting there and him trying to control my will.
What did it work?
I don't know. Waved his hands in front of me and flashed the mirror in my eyes, and I fell asleep.
Yeah.
And right away wakes me up, wants to know how it felt, what it was like when he put me under. I told him he didn't, and I just went to sleep, so he kept trying to use with this book called Post-Hypnotic Suggestion. You know, while I'm asleep, he says something I'm supposed to do when I wake up.
Oh, yeah.
And then he woke me up and waited for me to do it.
And what do you want you to do?
I never found out. He just sat there and looked at me. Every time I'd doze off, he'd wake me up so I could do whatever it was he suggested. And around 1:30 this morning, he gave up. He said the book wasn't any good and he was going to get his money back. All the time, Faye's sitting there just watching, miserable. If I'd known what it was he wanted me to do, I'd have done it to get him off my back.
Never did find out what it was.
This morning, wouldn't even say hello. Figured I wasn't cooperating, I guess.
I get it. Homicide, Friday. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, it is. Yes, well, what was that address again? Yes, ma'am, we'll be right out.
Something for us?
Yeah, a woman out on Burn Street, 6425, says her son's been murdered. Frank and I drove out to the house. It was a typical residential neighborhood. When we got there, a crowd had gathered around the front of the house. A radio car had arrived, and the officers had gotten the people back from the lawn and the entrance of the house. We went in and met the woman who had placed the call, a Mrs. Edith Curtis. She was a woman in her late 40s with graying hair. As we talked to her, she kept wringing a handkerchief in her hand.
Jeff was cleaning the gun. Middle of the week, he looked at it and said that it needed cleaning. He's always home on Saturday, so this morning he said he might as well get at it. After breakfast, he got out all the things he uses, put them on the table in there, and started to clean the gun. I was in the bedroom tidying up the place. I heard these loud voices and then a shot. I went to the living room, and I saw this man standing there. As soon as he saw me, he turned around and ran for the door. I yelled at him, but he didn't stop.
What'd you do then, ma'am?
I went over to Jeff. He was just lying there, still and quiet. I could see where he'd been shot. I knew he was dead, and then I called you. Before you got here, the other men, the ones in the car, got here. But it was too late. Our boy was dead. Terrible. Just terrible.
Yes, ma'am. I'll go see if my partner's finished with the call, Mrs. Curtis. Would you like us to call your family doctor?
No. Very kind of you, but I'll be all right. This house has been full of tragedy. Last couple of years, nothing but sadness. I'm used to it. I guess the good Lord makes you used to it. If he didn't, I don't think a mother could go on.
Ma'am?
My youngest daughter, Alice. 2 years ago, this next month, the 24th. She killed herself, Sergeant. It almost killed me, too, losing her.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why I say I'm used to it. I got to the point after Alice was dead where I couldn't see any reason for going on. Then I figured that the good Lord must have wanted it this way. And I wasn't the one to say it was wrong. Alice was going to have enough trouble as it was.
I don't think I understand.
Suicide, Sergeant. The one unforgivable sin.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Joe. I called them. Checked with the fellows in the car. They're looking around the neighborhood.
Miss Curtis,
Yes.
I wonder if you could give us a description of the man you saw. We'd like to get out a call on him.
Of course, I saw him pretty good, just standing there looking at me.
Well, how old a man would you say he was?
Maybe 35 or 40. Not any older than that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. How tall would you say he was?
Taller than you.
About how much taller?
Oh, maybe a couple of inches.
Well, I make him about 6'1" or 2". Is that right?
Yes, I think that's pretty close.
About his weight. How heavy do you think he was?
I'm not very good at that. I guess about 180, around there.
What about his clothes? What was he wearing? Could you remember?
He had on one of those blue denim outfits, you know, the trousers and the jacket, light blue.
Mm-hmm.
Then the coat had that dark blue trim, knitted around the bottom and collar. Had on a white shirt, no tie. And a pair of those shoes with the real thick soles, that rubber.
Mm-hmm. Anything unusual about him?
I don't think I know what you mean.
Well, did he have any marks or scars? Anything that might make it easier for us to identify him?
No, not that I could see. But you won't have any trouble identifying him. I'll tell you if you have the right one or not.
Did he have a car? Would you know that?
I don't think so. I didn't see one.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. I'll call us in right away, Joe. Get out the local and APB.
Yeah. Miss Curtis?
Yes.
Could you tell us exactly what time the shooting took place?
Not exactly, but I'd say about 7:45.
Uh-huh. Did this man say anything to you?
No, not a word.
You never saw him before, maybe around the neighborhood, the stores, in the street someplace?
No, I never saw him. I know that. But if I see him again, I'll know him.
All right.
I'll be right back, Joe.
Okay. I hope you won't take offense, ma'am.
What's that, Sergeant?
Well, you don't seem too greatly concerned about your son's death here.
I thought I'd explain that to you. I told you that I have to figure that it's the Lord's will.
Mm-hmm.
I might as well tell you, Sergeant. You'll probably find out anyway.
What's that, ma'am?
Well, Jeff and I had a few arguments. Nothing serious, but we did have words.
I beg your pardon, ma'am?
Well, I told you that my daughter took her own life.
Oh, yeah.
She lived with us here in this house. I thought it was a happy home. I found out it wasn't. I found out too well.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Alice, that's my daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, she was going to marry. She'd met a young man who worked in an aircraft factory. She seemed to think he was very nice. I couldn't see much in him. I told her so. We had quite a few rows about it, once when he was here.
Mm-hmm.
On that night, the row, Alice's young man left, made quite a fuss about my trying to run the children's lives. Told Alice that he'd marry her right away that night. But when they were married, he didn't want to have anything to do with Jeff or me.
Well, did Jeff take any part in this quarrel?
No, my yes. Finally, the young man stormed out of the house. Alice was in tears, just seemed to go to pieces. That night, she took an overdose of sleeping pills. I'll never forget when I called her for breakfast. Terrible. That's not doing any good. I'm sorry, Sergeant.
That's quite all right, ma'am. Now, you said you and your son had several arguments. Was it about this engagement thing here?
Yes, after Alice's funeral. Jeff seemed to sulk around the house. Then at night he'd go out and drink quite a bit. He seemed to think that I'd caused Alice to do away with herself. I tried to tell him that I didn't, that I was just as sorry as he was. I told him how badly I felt, but it didn't seem to do any good.
Well, have you heard from Alice's fiancé since that night?
He was at the funeral.
Well, what's his name, Mrs. Curtis?
Dudley. Bruce Dudley.
Do you know where we can get in touch with him?
I think Jeff had his address. I can look for it.
Thank you.
But you don't think that Bruce had anything to do with this? I know it wasn't him. I know Bruce. I know what he looks like. It wasn't him in the living room.
Well, we just want to talk to him, ma'am.
Of course, he might have hired someone else. No, I'm sure Bruce had nothing to do with it. Even with what he did say.
Ma'am?
That night, when they had the fight, Jeff told him that if he didn't get out, he'd throw him out.
Mm-hmm.
When he left, Bruce said that someday our meddling in other people's lives was going to backfire. that it might take some time, but that we'd be repaid. And that look in his eyes when he went through the door, Sergeant,
Yeah.
maybe he did do it. He looked mad enough to kill us both.
9:12 a.m. The coroner arrived and removed the body. The men from the crime lab crew went over the place. A complete set of pictures was taken before the body was removed. Latent Prince went over the rifle on the table and the cleaning apparatus. Frank and I noticed that the tablecloth on the living room table had been on the floor when we got to the house. Mrs. Curtis had told us that her son had grabbed it as he fell to the floor. We talked with the neighbors. One of them, a Mrs. Alvin Kemper, said that she had been watering the lawn between 7:30 and 8 a.m., but that she had seen no one enter or leave the Curtis house. She told us that she had heard frequent and loud arguments between Mrs. Curtis and her son. Frank and I drove out to the address of Bruce Dudley. It was a modern one-room apartment on Riverside Drive in the San Fernando Valley. We rang the buzzer a second time and waited.
Looks like he's not in.
Oh, what time you got?
12:17.
He's probably gone out. Come on, we can check the manager.
Yeah?
Oh, Mr. Dudley?
Yeah, what do you want?
Well, police officers would like to talk to you.
Okay, come on in. I just got up, out late last night. I don't feel at all well. I'll move those clothes and sit down. I'm going to put a pot of coffee on. Oh, I feel like a troop of midgets ran barefoot over my tongue.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
What do you want to see me about?
You know a Jeff Curtis?
Yeah, I know him. Hey, what'd you say your names were?
Well, my name's Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
You got any badge? Something to prove that you're cops?
Yes, sir. Here's my ID.
Uh-huh. Sergeant Joseph Friday. Okay. Now, what's this about Jeff?
He's dead, Mr. Dudley.
Dead?
Yes, sir.
How did it happen? Accident?
Well, we're not sure.
He didn't kill himself, did he?
Why do you ask that?
I just thought he might have. Sister killed herself. Thought he might have done the same thing.
Do you know of any reason that he'd do something like that?
Oh, no, not that I could name.
I understand you and Mr. Curtis didn't get along too well.
We got along all right. Oh, when Alice and I split up, there were some words, nothing serious.
Well, the way we get it, you were pretty sore at him.
Yeah?
Yeah. I understand you and he had quite an argument. He was ready to throw you out of the house.
You've been talking to his mother. She's been throwing lies around again.
Well, is it true? Did you and Curtis have an argument?
Yeah, I got nothing to hide.
You been out of the house this morning?
No, why?
Have any way of proving you were here all morning?
Just got up. You know that. You guys got me out of bed. What are you trying to prove?
Just want to know if you can account for your time, that's all.
You think I had something to do with Jeff's death, is that it?
We didn't say that.
No, but you meant it. Oh, excuse me. I got to get the coffee. You want some coffee?
No, thanks.
How about you?
No.
You don't mind if I have a cup, huh?
No, sir. Go right ahead.
Thanks. Let's face it. You guys really think I had anything to do with what happened to Jeff?
We're not paid to say what we think. We try to get the facts.
Yeah. But if I was you, I'd concentrate on Mrs. Curtis. I wouldn't put it past the old bat to kill her own son. Check around the bars in the neighborhood. Talk to his friends. They'll tell you. His mother was scared to death that he'd marry one of these days, walk out on her. He used to be on his back all the time about the girls he went out with. I knew some of them. Alice and me used to double date with him once in a while.
Mm-hmm. They ever have any arguments about this while you were around?
A couple of times, yeah. If you don't believe me, why don't you check with Harry? He'll tell you the same story. Lord knows he went through enough of it.
Harry?
Yeah, Jeff's brother. He got married, let's see, about 5 years ago. Moved out of the house, lock, stock, and baggage. He went through a thrash with his mother about it. He'll tell you about it. Used to come over to see Jeff once in a while after he got married, but the old lady caused so much trouble that they started to meet at a bar. Got to the point where Harry wouldn't go in the house. Check with him. He'll tell you.
You know where we can get in touch with him?
No, I haven't got the address. Look it up in the book. Harry Curtis. I think it's out on Selma, someplace in Hollywood.
All right, sir. Where do you work?
Meyer Aircraft. I'm a toolmaker.
You work the day shift?
Yeah, I'm off today. Hey, what's this for?
Just wanted to know where we could reach you.
You still think I had something to do with it, huh?
No, we didn't say you did. Your name came up and we had to check it out.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of times when Jeff and I didn't get along, I won't try to tell you that there weren't. I'd never do anything to hurt him. He had enough on his hands with that mother.
Yeah.
Sure, one night when we came home from a date, Alice, me, Jeff, and his date, we're sitting around the kitchen having something to eat. Mother came in madder than a wet hen. Raised Cain, told Jeff to get the woman out of the house. Jeff told her he wouldn't have her talk to the girl like that. He thought quite a bit of her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the old biddy walked right over and slapped the girl across the face, told her to leave Jeff alone. Said she'd rather see him dead than tied up with a girl like that.
2:40 p.m. We drove back to the office. There'd been no replies on the local or the APB. We checked the names of Jeffrey Curtis and Bruce Dudley through R&I. There was no record on Curtis, but Dudley had been arrested twice for LAMC 4127C, being drunk in a public place. He'd served sentences in the city jail on both charges. We checked with the coroner's office, and they told us that Curtis had been killed by a .38 caliber bullet. It had been fired at close range into the back of his skull. The bullet was booked for evidence, and we made out a dead body report. We put in a call to the brother's house, but we were told that he was out of the city, and he wouldn't return until sometime that night. We left word for him to call our office as soon as he returned. We checked on the suicide story given us by Mrs. Curtis and found that an Alice Curtis had taken her own life by an overdose of sleeping pills 2 years before. 5:20 p.m. Frank and I drove out to talk to Mrs. Curtis again.
You want to look at Jeff's room, don't you?
Yes, Miss Curtis.
This way.
When we were here this morning, you didn't say anything about your other son.
Harry? Mm-hmm. Well, you see, Officer, Harry doesn't care much for me. I know it's hard to believe that a boy would desert his own mother, but that's what Harry did. He got married, and right away his wife started to cause trouble between us.
The rifle your son was cleaning this morning.
Oh, yes. Those men from the crime lab, I think they said they took it.
Yes, ma'am. Did your son do much hunting?
Well, he used to. He used to do quite a bit before Harry got married. They used to be great pals. Mm-hmm. Mother couldn't ask for a better pair of sons. And when Harry left home, Jeff sort of gave it up. He cleaned a gun when he had to, but he didn't go after game anymore. Then, too, he was afraid to leave me alone at night.
Ma'am?
Well, we've had a lot of trouble with prowlers in the neighborhood. Had to call the police a couple of times. They didn't find anybody, though.
Mm-hmm.
These your son's clothes, ma'am?
Yes.
This man you saw this morning, did you notice if he had a gun?
Yes, he did. It was a revolver. When I came into the room, it was still smoking.
Mm-hmm. Did your son keep any other firearms in the house?
Oh, no, just the rifle. I wouldn't have any other guns in the place. I don't like them.
You had any call to go up in the attic lately, Mrs. Curtis?
What?
The attic, ma'am. Have either you or your son had any reason to go up there?
No, I don't think we've been up there since we moved. Could I get you officers a cup of coffee or anything? I've got some nice fresh cake. Like a slice of that?
No, ma'am. Thanks just the same.
No?
Yeah.
Look at here.
Yeah.
Look at here on the shoulders of these suits in the back. You see this dirt? Looks like it came down from that door to the attic.
Yeah. Let me get a chair and we'll have a look.
What's this all about? I told you we haven't used that attic. Don't you believe me?
We'd just like to take a look if you don't mind, ma'am.
Well, maybe I do mind.
It's just going to take a minute, ma'am.
I think you officers have sure got your nerve. I tried to be nice to you, help you out. Isn't enough that my boy's dead. Now you have to come in here and tear my home apart.
There's something up here, Frank. I can reach it. Yeah, here it is. Get my pencil. You ever seen this, Mrs. Curtis?
No. I haven't got any idea how that gun got there. Doesn't belong to us.
What do you think, Joe? I don't know. 38 caliber.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
And now a report every smoker should hear.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report published about any cigarette.
A responsible consulting organization reports a study by a competent medical specialist and staff on the effects of smoking Chesterfields. For 6 months, a group of men and women smoked only Chesterfield, 10 to 40 a day, their normal amount. 45% of the group have smoked Chesterfields from 1 to 30 years, for an average of 10 years each. At the beginning and end of the 6 months, each smoker was given a thorough examination, including x-rays, and covering the sinuses, nose, ears, and throat. After these examinations, the medical specialist stated,
"It is my opinion that the ears, nose, throat, and accessory organs of all participating subjects examined by me were not adversely affected in the 6-month period by smoking the cigarettes provided."
Remember this report and buy Chesterfield, regular or king size, premium quality Chesterfield, and much milder.
We took the gun back to the city hall. It was checked for fingerprints, but none were found. We checked with pawn shop records, but the gun had not been registered. By checking with the manufacturer, we got the retailer's name. It had been sold to the victim, Jeff Curtis. The gun was turned over to Russ Camp for the routine check through ballistics.
Just a minute till I take it out.
Right.
That's nice. There we are. What's the matter now? Striations here.
Got a make, Russ?
Yeah, the match.
11:46 p.m. Harry Curtis called the office. He was surprised to hear of his brother's death, but said that he would be down to see us in the morning. Frank and I checked out, and the next morning we drove out to the house on Burn Street and picked up Mrs. Curtis. We talked to her in the interrogation room.
This is perfectly ridiculous. I don't understand what you're trying to get me to say.
Well, maybe if we lay it out for you, ma'am.
Yes, that might do it. At least it would be something.
All right, when we walked into your house yesterday morning, you said that nothing in the house had been touched, that everything was just as it was when your son was killed. Is that right?
Yes, I guess I said that.
Like to have you be sure one way or the other, ma'am. What did you say?
I said that. I hadn't touched anything. Nobody did.
Mm-hmm. Would you tell us what your son was doing when you left the room?
I told you he was cleaning the rifle.
On the living room table?
Yes, that's right.
What did you say he did after he was shot?
I said he fell down.
Did he touch anything as he fell, brush up against anything?
Well, when he fell, he grabbed the tablecloth, pulled it down with him.
Yes, ma'am. Well, then maybe you can explain how it was that all the things he used to clean the rifle and the gun itself were still on the table.
What?
How is it those things didn't come off the table when he pulled the cloth off?
I don't know what you're trying to get me to say.
Well, we'd like for you to tell us the truth.
I'm telling that.
All right, ma'am. When the crime lab went over your house, they found 2 places in the kitchen floor that had been filled in with plastic wood. The job didn't look very old.
Well, what's wrong with that? Jeff took good care of the house. He might have tried to plug up some place where ants were getting in.
When the men from the lab dug up the patches, they found 2 .38 caliber bullets underneath. They checked them with the bullet that killed your son. The bullets came from the same gun.
I don't know what you're talking about. What does all this show?
You talked about prowlers. Said you had trouble with them in the neighborhood.
That's right.
What action did you take to stop this?
I called the police. Had them come out and try to find the person who was causing the trouble.
When did you call the police last?
3 weeks ago.
We've checked the reports, ma'am. There's no record of anyone having called the police to check prowlers in that neighborhood for the past 6 months.
Are you trying to make me out a liar? Is that what you're trying to do?
We're trying to get the truth.
Frank?
Yeah, Joe.
You want to check the office and see if Mr. Curtis is here yet?
Yeah, sure.
You brought my son here?
Yes, ma'am. We've got to get the truth to this.
Well, why did you have to get him involved in it?
Well, as I said, ma'am, we're trying to find the facts.
You don't believe what I've told you?
Well, no, ma'am. You've made it a little difficult.
How can you say that?
Well, first you tell us that nothing was touched, yet the physical setup doesn't make that possible. You deny knowing anything about the gun when we find it, but we find 2 bullets that have been fired from the same gun embedded in the floor of the kitchen. You told us about prowlers in the neighborhood, but there's no police record of it. Your next-door neighbor says she was out in front of her house all morning, but she didn't see anyone enter or leave your house. We find the murder gun up in the attic. You told us you saw the killer leave the house with the gun. Your son died instantly. Now, can you tell us who put the gun there? No, ma'am. There's too much here that doesn't gel.
They got you into this, didn't they, Harry?
Yes, Mother?
They're trying to tell you that I killed Jeff. They want me to tell them that I killed my own boy. Tell them. Tell them I wouldn't do a thing like that. Not my own boy.
Afraid I can't, Mother.
What do you mean you can't?
The officers just told me about it.
Well, who are you going to believe? These policemen or me? Your mother?
You don't give me much choice.
What?
I love you, Mother. You got to believe that. I know that whatever you did, you thought was right. I know you didn't mean to hurt Jeff. I know that.
And you think I killed him, too? Don't you? Harry, give me an answer. You think I killed Jeff, don't you?
Yes, Mother.
Well, I did. I didn't think I meant to do it. I think I just wanted to frighten him. He was running around so much. Those tramps who were seeing terrible women. I had to keep him home. I had to keep him with me. It was all I had. I'm not young anymore, Harry. You went away, then Alice. Jeff was all I had. I didn't want him to leave, and he was going to. We had an argument. He was cleaning the gun. I got the revolver. That way I knew that I'd always have him with me, that he wouldn't leave. I pulled the trigger. Then I knew what I'd done. That Jeff was gone, too. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know. You've got to believe that, officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe me? That I just wanted my boy? I wanted to keep him. That's all any mother wants. I tried to keep my boy.
Well, maybe that's what was wrong.
What do you mean?
You tried too hard.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On September 4th, trial was held in Department 87, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Each of our Dragnet case histories is based entirely on facts taken from authentic police files, and everything we tell you about Chesterfield is based on facts, too. Chesterfield, for example, was the first to name its ingredients. Chesterfield tells you what it's made of, because you should know what gives you the best possible smoke. Now, that brings me to the report that George Fenneman and Hal Gibney read earlier. That, too, is based entirely on facts. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfield. First such report ever published about any cigarette. Remember this the next time you buy cigarettes and ask for Chesterfield. Regular or king size, premium quality Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke.
Edith A. Curtis was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree and was sentenced to the state penitentiary for women, Tehachapi, California. While serving her sentence there, she died from natural causes. Murder in the first degree is punishable by death or confinement in the state penitentiary for life. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Frazier. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Herb Ellis, Helen Cleve, Whit Connor. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Tomorrow, sound off for Chesterfield. Either way you like them, regular or king size, Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
Pat Novak, or higher. Sure, I'm Pat Novak, for hire. That's what the sign out in front of my office says. Pat Novak for hire. Down on the waterfront in San Francisco, you don't get prizes for being subtle. If you want to make a living down here, you got to get your hand in the till any way you can. You rob Peter to pay Paul, and then you put it on the cup. So I rent boats and tell a few white lies if the price is right. It's a happy life, if you don't mind looking up at a headstone, because sooner or later you draw trouble a size too big. I found that out Tuesday night. It was raining, and the street was as deserted as a warm bottle of beer. It must have been about 11 o'clock when I came out of the office and started down the waterfront. As I got near the corner, I stopped. An old man stepped out of the darkness and started across the street. It was a short trip because a car started up down the street, and the old man couldn't have made it with a pocket full of aces. I started over to him. The car slowed down for a minute and then turned the corner and disappeared. As it passed under the streetlight, I caught a glimpse of the license plate in a dull, surprised way, the way you'd grab a feather out of an angel's wing. I bent over the old man and rolled him on his back. He didn't seem to be in pain. He was just an old man with the frightened look of a small boy in a storm. He was breathing hard as I cushioned his head.
Please help me. Can you please help me?
That's a big order, mister.
I must talk to you.
Well, if you've got any good quotes, you better get them off your chest fast.
In my pocket. Inside my pocket. You please put your hand.
Yeah. In here?
Yeah.
Sure. 2 envelopes. What about them?
One is money for you. You have the other one?
So far.
The other one. Please keep sealed. And you will give it to John St. John?
John St. John.
Yeah.
Well, where's he live?
I don't understand. It's not... I want to tell you. You don't understand.
He was right on that one. I didn't understand a thing, except he slipped out of my arms and stopped paying taxes. I dragged him over the side, and I went through his stuff. There was nothing there. No identification. Just a card with an address out on Haight Street. I opened the envelope, and $300 tumbled into my breast pocket. The other one was sealed. There was no name on it, but up in the corner there was some kind of marking. It looked like 2 crosses spliced together. There wasn't anything I could do for him except pray, and I owe some back dues. So I went back to my office and called police headquarters. I told them where the old man was, and then I checked in the phone book. There was no John St. John listed. Well, it wasn't going to be easy to find him, and I only had 2 leads, that license number and the address on Haight Street. So I looked up the only honest guy I know, an ex-doctor and a boozer by the name of Jocko Madigan. A good guy, but to him a hangover is the price of being sober. I finally found him singing in a Mason Street bar. Jocko, I want to talk to you.
Ah, Patsy. You're just in time for the counterpoint. I'm singing a song, a little sentimental thing from my childhood.
Yeah, well, it'll keep. I got a problem.
You'll always have a problem, Patsy, because you can't keep out of trouble. You know that, don't you? You have no self-control.
All right, Jocko.
You have no more self-control than a bucket of mercury dumped on a marble staircase.
All right, now, shall we check the bright talk? I just saw a guy get killed.
Oh, you're like some violent disorder in nature, some large but unprofitable storm. You keep whirling in circles, Patsy. If you ever go more than 10 feet in one direction, it's because some woman is 9 feet away. Then it begins all over again.
Are you all through?
Yes, get to the point. That's another of your troubles. You never get to the point.
I just saw a guy killed 10 minutes ago.
How would that interest me? Are you selling an eyewitness account?
Some old guy got killed down on the Embarcadero. He checked out 15 feet away from me.
Who killed him?
I don't know.
Why do you care? Professional jealousy?
Some car came out of nowhere and clipped him.
You sure it wasn't an accident?
Yeah, just like the Berlin blockade. Will you stop needling me, Jocko? I told you a guy got killed. He was murdered right in front of me. I got to find a guy called John St. John.
How, St. John?
John St. John. I don't feel like vaudeville tonight, Jocko. The old man gave me $300 to deliver a letter, and I made him a promise.
Well, you can break it now with only the slightest risk.
I got the license number of the car. Now, I want you to hop down and look it up. And then check at headquarters to see if the guy's got a record, will you?
I don't like policemen. They depress me.
Check it. I got to go out to Haight Street. What kind of neighborhood is it out there?
Well, it's not exactly a neighborhood. It's more like an architectural afterthought, a lingering defense against the early California bear.
All right. No speeches. Just check on that license plate, huh? Now, if I'm not at my place, try this address.
Yes, that's always very interesting at this time of night. Good night, lover.
Jocko was right about the neighborhood. When I left him, I doubled by my place and left the envelope. I put it inside another envelope and stashed it behind some books, and then I headed out to look up John St. John. Oh, it must have been about midnight when I got there, and it was the kind of a neighborhood where a for rent sign reads like a ransom note. I found the place, though. It was an old rooming house, a third-floor apartment. I knocked at the door, and when she opened it, I knew it was time to wire home for money. A tall, blonde blister with lots of Fahrenheit. She stood there leaning against the door, smiling, looking at you as if you had gold-plated muscles. It gave you a weak feeling where your dinner ought to be. And her voice came right out of the oven.
Well, you're an odd kind of lady.
Yeah, I'm looking for a guy named John St. John.
Oh? Won't you come into my cobweb?
Sure. For a spider, you're nice and chubby.
Oh, a Spider-Man. My name's Lee Norton. You want to write it down?
I'm Pat Novak. I'm looking for a guy named John St. John.
You seem to be running a temperature on the subject. Sit down?
Yeah, the council do.
I'll bet you carry rainy nights in your pocket.
All right, now let's get out of the woods, Angel. I'm looking for a guy.
I know you're wearing out the past. I don't know a John St. John.
A dead man was carrying around your address.
He was? That seems rather feudal.
Yeah, an old guy about 60. He got killed crossing the street.
You should have had a Boy Scout then. I don't know anything about him, Mr. Novak. Despite occasional temptations, I don't collect 60-year-old men.
Well, he was looking around your address. Why?
I don't know. Maybe he admired me from afar, like a sunset or something.
No, he stopped admiring sunsets about 20 years ago.
I see. What are you, the avenging angel?
He gave me a sealed envelope.
And you were supposed to give it to a man named John St. John.
That's right. He gave me $300 to ease the pain.
I forget that. You don't look like the charitable type.
He was a nice old guy, so I'm going to find his boy.
Maybe I could help you.
But you got a clear, fast track. Let's see you go.
Well, I told you I don't know John St. John, but I'll do this much.
Yeah, I know. You're going to be big-hearted and offer to take that letter just in case you ever meet someone named John St. John.
What? You brought along your crystal ball.
Your hand's shaking, baby.
Maybe it's the wind. You better hold it.
You need a handrail, friend.
Yeah? What are your plans?
I'm open-minded about it.
You're a nice Spider-Man.
Yeah. The wind's getting a little worse, isn't it?
Yeah. Wish you'd act a little more surprised, though.
I'm not. When I walked in, I could see you had both arms broken. Did you pay the rent this month?
Keep the kettle on. I'll only be a moment.
Hello, Lee. If we're early, just give us a magazine.
No, come on in. Well, just enough for some bridge.
You're right. You're only gone for a moment. Who are your friends?
Oh, now, don't sulk.
Did they lock the manhole before they left home?
His name's Novak.
Yeah? That's a pretty name. It don't rhyme with anything, but it's pretty, huh, Joe?
Yeah, it's all right.
Let's have the letter, Novak.
You got hold of a bad rumor, fella.
The one I got's good. Let's have it.
I don't want to strain your mind, Junior, but try to understand. I don't have a letter.
Ask him again.
Go on home, mister. You're not going to get anything out of me except a small tip. Now, if you're a good boy, I'll give you a nickel for your friend, too.
All right, Joe. Hold him up.
Yeah. Just a minute.
He's got a head of hair. Hold him up.
All right, Mike. That's enough. That's enough.
All right, baby. Don't look so sorry you can't have everything.
It's easy to sleep if you got the right friends. When those two donuts were through, I hit the floor and made Rip Van Winkle look like an insomnia victim. I didn't like the floor, but it was in better shape than my face. I don't know how long I was there, but it must have been a couple of hours. I rolled over once and tried to get up, but it was like trying to barbecue a cake of ice. There was a sick, sweet smell in the room. I tried to place it, but my nose was out on strike, so I went to sleep again. The next thing I knew, it sounded like New Year's Eve.
Here you go, Patsy. Up on the couch.
What's the matter?
Nothing. If you're the kitchen stove, the room's full of gas.
Oh.
You ought to open the window if you're going to turn on the gas.
Some of my playmates, I guess.
Well, you weren't at the apartment, so I tried here.
Yeah. What time is it?
2:00. Who got the quaint idea of the gas chamber?
The girlfriend. It was love at first sight.
I see. Let's go home to bed.
I'm getting used to floors. That old man started a ball game, Jocko. When I mentioned John St. John to this girl, she turned banker and brought in the Gunsels.
Did she get the letter?
I left it at home.
Oh, you're getting smart.
Yeah. $300 worth. They lifted my dough.
Well, you couldn't have used it where you were going.
Yeah.
I've checked on that hit-and-run car. It's listed under the name of Sidney Bronson.
Has he got a record?
No.
Everybody's a beginner. Well, let's go home.
Oh, it'll be dull, but you'll get used to it. Wait till I wash my hands.
Yeah, go ahead.
Patsy!
Yeah?
What did your girlfriend look like? Was she the lively type?
Yeah. Why? What's the matter?
Because she's not anymore.
Yeah. Those Gunsels play rough.
She's kind of pretty. What did she do besides sending out vibrations?
I don't know. But she knew all about John St. John.
Yeah?
She picked up the bait like a hungry bass. Also, look at that ring.
How'd you get around to that?
The insignia on it. The same one that's on that envelope, spliced crosses.
Let's go home, Patsy. The police will be here.
Yeah. Even Hellman will know she's dead. Come on, we better go. I out the door, Jocko. Try it sideways because I think it's blocked.
Hello, Novak. You look pale.
It's my color scheme. What do you care, Hellman?
None. She looks peaceful.
Yeah, be quiet or you'll wake her up.
I'll tiptoe. You always cut her throat before she goes to sleep? Who is she, Novak?
I don't know.
It's awful cozy here for a bunch of perfect strangers.
I don't know every dead girl in town, Hellman. You'll have to check.
You can still write, can't you, Novak? That's all you'll need down at headquarters. Come on.
Oh, get out of the haze, Hellman. You don't know who's dead yet, but you're going to book somebody.
Yeah. What are you doing up here, appraising the joint?
I came up to find a guy named John St. John.
She doesn't look like a guy named John St. John.
She was my lead. I came up here to smell out a rat. She had a half Nelson on me when two gunsels walked in.
They came up to fix the gas meter, I think.
You stay out of this.
I'll make every effort.
Now, if you're smart, you'll fingerprint this place, Hellman. These boys were cute. They've been in somebody's jail.
I'll handle my job. You stick to murder.
You'll go a long way to pin this on me, Hellman.
I can go a long way, Novak.
Not with what you got to drag.
We get a call in the middle of the night. Come up here and find you standing over a dead girl.
That's right.
And you want me to sprinkle powder all over. Back up and take a better look, Novak.
Oh, the view's fine, Hellman, and if you'll take a good look, you'll know why. You haven't got anything to give the DA except a slim lead and a fat hand. You're going to need help.
Not on this one.
You need help to find the street. Come on back to center, Hellman. Even with both hands, you couldn't
Yeah?
find... Forget it.
So take the medicine like a good boy. I'm not going to walk out and let the two of you tour the town. I'm going to book one or both of you on a murder charge.
All right. Book Jocko here, then.
I love you in a generous mood.
You got a string, then, Hellman. Somebody's got to find John St. John.
Who's going to find Jocko?
Oh, stop worrying. I'll bail you out.
You haven't got the right size heart, Novak. You'll let him die on the vine.
Hellman, sometimes you're guilty of unexpected wisdom. I know it's reflex action, but it's consoling anyway.
I want you, Novak. I want you bad. I'll take this guy as a down payment, but I'm going to close out with you. Remember that.
I will.
All right. Come on, mister.
Wait a minute. Patsy, you're not going to let him lug me off like this.
What else can I do? The guy likes you. It was a bum curve to throw Jocko, but somebody had to dig us out of a hole. Jocko wasn't the boy. You can't shovel dirt with a bar rag. Well, I had no idea where to start. There were two murders, and they were both tied up with this John St. John. He didn't look like a good guy to know. Then there was that insignia, too. The one on the letter and the one on the girl's ring. Sure, it could be a coincidence, but that's what they said about Bluebeard. The only thing I could do was open that letter, so I went back to the apartment. I didn't have to turn on the light. They were running in pairs tonight. She was sitting there on the couch, proud of a pair of long silk legs and smiling like a guy who knows he's got $1 million in the bank. She was blonde, too. A little more lemon juice, maybe, but blonde anyway. She was nice and comfortable, and I got the idea she'd just signed a lease.
Good evening. How do you do?
Not very well so far.
A sly remark, Mr. Novak?
No, I'm just bringing you up to date. Your girlfriend's dead.
Yes?
Yeah. The gas jet's out in the kitchen.
It is? I think that's supposed to be mysterious.
You clear it up, then. Find a name for yourself and a reason why you picked out my furniture.
Oh? Do you mind my being here?
I just want to know your name before I throw you out in the hall.
Mr. Novak, I'll bet you're awfully slow when it comes to throwing somebody out in the hall.
Not if they can bounce as well as I figure you can.
When you do throw me out, throw the letter out, too.
All right, now, I've already had a dress rehearsal. The answer's no.
Well, at least I know where you stand. By the way, why are you standing? Please sit down.
Yeah. Who's John St. John?
Don't be redundant, Mr. Novak.
Who is he? If you want that letter, you know him.
Don't shout. I'd like you better if you could.
I don't need your vote. Who's John St. John?
I don't know him.
You want that letter because you collect stamps.
I want it. And you'll have to take my word. I don't know John St. John. Be worth breaking your heart over.
Look, there's a good guy down in the clink sweating on a murder rap for me, so I want John St. John.
You've got nice friends.
Who's Sidney Bronson?
How does that fit into the picture?
This started with a waterfront corpse. The leftovers belonged to an old guy that was hit by a car. The car's registered in the name of Sidney Bronson.
Mr. Novak, you seem so intense. It's a pity to waste it on random speculation.
Now, look, I told you, lady, I got a friend in the jug.
Loyalty's a nice trait. One of your nicest.
Yeah.
You're a pretty thing, Patsy.
Let's don't get fooled by the rapper.
I'll take a chance.
Anybody ever brief you on trouble?
Mm-hmm. You're hard to see that far away. Come on over into focus, Patsy.
Yeah.
You're pretty, Patsy.
You look like you're on a bill of sale.
I'm a gentle kind, Novak. I'd just like to break your ribs.
Go ahead, I can get a brace.
Come here.
what you're going to say when you find out about this gun?
Huh?
That's right, sweetheart. My finger isn't hollow. Back up and take a look at the gun.
You got to that purse, huh?
That's right.
You've ruined my confidence.
I'll give you a testimonial. In the meantime, I want the letter.
You go after everything the same way.
I want the letter.
It's in the desk. Come on. Right here in the top of the door. All right.
Go, stay away from...
I'm already here, lady. All right, now come on, drop the gun first.
Let go of my arms now.
That's your version.
Let go of me. Let go of me. What was that for?
A little something on the house. Now beat it.
Well, you've ruined my confidence.
You're lucky. Go on home.
You won't change your mind about that letter?
No.
Suit yourself. I'll be going. Oh, Patsy?
Yeah?
I can't help you on John St. John, but I wouldn't worry about that fellow, Sidney Bronson.
Why?
Because I'm Sidney Bronson. See you soon, Patsy.
That one sink in for a minute, but it got about as far as my brain and ran out of gas. She wasn't driving that murder car. Otherwise, she wouldn't get that talkie. It began to look like a big, fat, well-fed double-cross, and John St. John was holding up his end. I had to find out what was in that letter, so I made tracks for the bookcase. All I could do was browse because the letter was gone. Whoever took it didn't even leave a tip. I thought of the girl, but that didn't make sense, and I thought of John St. John. That made lots of sense. Things didn't look rosy for me or Jocko. I was about to buy a file and bake a cake when the phone rang. Yeah.
Hello, Novak.
Oh, Hellman.
The coroner got a report on that dead girl. She died at 12:30.
That's pretty close. What's he got, a stopwatch?
15 minutes either way. Those fingerprints panned out, too.
Yeah?
A couple of L.A. strong-arm men.
Well, that's new for L.A. You got a call out?
We already picked them up. Your favorite's named Welcome Danglers.
I could make a joke.
I already got one. They're set up with a perfect alibi for 12:30.
That means I killed the girl.
Nobody's arguing. I got some more news.
Yeah?
I'm out at Seal Rock.
You got the figure for it.
We just found an envelope floating around the water. It's one of yours. You better come on out.
You found an envelope, so what?
So the envelope turns out to be in some guy's pocket. Come on out.
Well, that only meant one thing. Whoever took that envelope out of my place got popular. It was getting late, so I grabbed a cab and rode out to the beach. When I got there, Hellman was standing down near the water. He had Jocko with him. The surf was rolling in, and Jocko wasn't much better.
Hello, Patsy.
Hiya, Jocko. How's jail?
Dry.
Thanks for coming, Novak. You're sweet.
Where's the envelope?
Here.
Yeah, the same one.
That makes you look good.
There was a letter in here. Did you take that with the guy's money, Hellman?
You got all there is.
This guy on the beach is the third one.
It's my opinion the case will solve itself. We're running out of people.
Who is the guy?
His name's Walter Avery. Here's his stuff.
Yeah, what's left? Well, this spliced cross really gets around.
Huh?
It keeps bobbing up. Here it is on the guy's fountain pen.
I'm going to run this guy through the morgue, and then I'm going to look you up, Novak.
Yeah?
Sure. We want you down with us.
That's right, Patsy. I'll introduce you to all the best people. Good night, lover.
Well, it was close to 5, so I tagged by my place for some sleep. I tossed around like a fish on the living room rug. Hellman called about 9 to throw more dust in my eyes. He said one of the airlines had a passenger to Portland named Walter Avery. Just to make it tough, the guy made the 12 o'clock plane and got off at Portland. Well, I had left field all to myself. I got dressed and looked up Sidney Bronson's number. There was no answer, so I went over. The place was locked, and I looked up the janitor. He wasn't going to let me in, but it turned out his wife had a birthday coming up. Sidney's apartment was real high-powered. I don't know where she got the dough, but I knew I wasn't going to find a tin cup and pencil. What I found was lots better. A card with that same insignia, the spliced cross. The card said, Bellcrest Sanitarium, and down in the corner there was a guy's name, Dr. Emil Schoenig, psychiatrist. Vienna without the waltz. The Bellcrest Sanitarium was down near San Carlos, so I borrowed a new Nash from a guy I know and headed down that way. Everything was fine until I got in the front door. They didn't even let me register. up on a couch in Schoenig's office. It was dark outside, and my left arm was throbbing like a love story in a woman's magazine. The radiator sitting next to me was Sidney.
You're a deep sleeper.
I think I got some help. What happened to my arm?
Hypodermic. You only need one arm anyway.
In your case, I need a spare. Who did it?
Dr. Schoenig.
He's a darling boy. Where is he?
Out on the phone trying to figure out what to do with you.
What's that make me, a patient?
That's one way of putting it. You made things easy. We were coming to you for the letter.
You want to try that over again?
We were on our way when you stumbled in.
You're wrong, Sid. Somebody's giving you a fast pitch. That letter was gone when you were up at my place.
I don't want a bum rib, Patsy. I want that letter.
You're trailing a field, Angel. I told you the letter's gone. A guy by the name of Walter Avery took it out of my place.
Walter Avery?
That's right, and somebody thanked him. They found him this morning making like a dead seal.
Walter Avery left for Portland last night.
A plant, sweetheart. You better read up on your friends.
Yeah. Thanks, Patsy.
I told you to watch it, Sid. You had more shots.
What's the difference?
None, I suppose. Why don't you mix us a drink while I talk to Mr. Novak?
I'll be right with you.
Well, Mr. Novak, you're one of my best patients.
That's because I like your needles. You better go easy on that drink.
Yes? Why?
You'll get drunk and run somebody down the way you did that guy on the waterfront.
Oh? A good guess. You should be proud. That's a good, sensible, final emotion.
Here's your drink, Emil.
Thank you, my dear. It's to Mr. Novak. Sorry there's no drink for you, Mr. Novak.
You probably will be.
Huh?
Forget it.
Emil, I talked to Mr. Novak before you came in. He thinks you're a heel.
He does.
So do I.
Oh, I can stand it.
He told me about Walter Avery.
I'm sorry about that.
Walter got that letter. You killed him and took it. I was supposed to blunder around till you got rid of me, too. That's a bum joke, Emil.
You're getting hysterical.
With laughter, Emil. You put one of your boys on that plane. Only Novak aired the wash too fast.
Suppose I did. Somebody ought to bring you up to date, Sidney. You've been hanging on too long. The free ride's over. I might as well tell you now. You're all through. I can't a whole bunch of longer. And I'm all through.
Steady, Emil.
What's the matter with me? What's the matter with me, Sid?
Give him a hand, Novak. He just had a bad drink.
You wouldn't do that.
I'm full of surprises. You got a stomach full of poison. You got a stomach full of poison in 15 seconds, Emil. Put down that gun, Emil.
I want you to, Sid.
Please, Emil, put down the gun.
I will stop it. Stop. This happened kind of fast for an of us.
What's the noise, huh, Patsy?
Yeah. I'll get you a pillow.
I'd rather have your lap.
You get mercy, not love, baby.
Thanks for small favors. How do I look?
Not so good. That was the 3-2 pitch.
Yeah, I had it coming up. I'll tell you about John St. John.
I know. There was no such guy.
That's right. It was the name of the group.
Those spliced crosses?
Yes. Found out a little late. It's always that way. That's the way I found out about you.
Yeah?
Had a funny hunch about you and me. I found out a little late. But I know now, Patsy. Does that help?
St. John was the name of an organization buying and selling government information. That old man tried to tell me, but he checked out too fast. I began to figure something like that when those spliced crosses started showing up. Schoenig killed the old man in Sidney's car. He couldn't stop because I was around. The two girls and Walter Avery were both in on the deal. Schoenig knew who I was when he saw me go into my office. He tailed me to my place and left Avery there to look for the letter. He killed that girl up in the rooming house, and then he found out she didn't have the letter. When Avery showed up, he took it away from him and threw him to the fish. Schoenig was trying to shake Sidney by sending her up to my place after he had the letter. The scheme went haywire when I showed up at the sanitarium. He was trying to Worked himself out of that one when the payoff came. John St. John? Yeah, right from the start, Jocko said he was either dead or in the state pen, because anybody with a name like John St. John would have killed his parents as soon as he got old enough to find out about it. Worked out all right. They found the letter out at Schoenig's place. There were some plans for guided missiles and a few other trifles. Well, Hellman asked only one question. How come Schoenig didn't kill me before I could talk to the girl? Well, it's always that way with a guy who commits murder. Either he goes too far or he doesn't go far enough.
Forces Radio Service has just brought you Pat Novak for Hire, starring Jack Webb. Pat Novak is produced by William P. Russo. Jocko Madigan is played by Tudor Owen. Inspector Hellman is played by Raymond Burr. Music was composed and conducted by Basil Adams. Be with us again next week when over most of these same stations we'll bring you Pat Novak for Hire. Pat Novak for Hire was previously released by ABC, the American Broadcasting Company, for listeners in the United States, and rebroadcast for our men and women overseas. This is the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, only cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. Naval intelligence tells you that 2 Marines have been picked up by the shore patrol. They're reported sick. One is in critical condition. Foul play is suspected. Your job? Investigate. Here's what leading tobacco publications have had to say about king-size Chesterfield.
U.S. Tobacco Journal, Atlanta, Georgia. Chesterfield King Size is going strong. One jobber reordered twice this week in addition to his regular order.
And the Chicago Weekly, Tobacco Leaf, reports more calls for Chesterfield King Size cigarettes than for most brands being marketed.
The reason for King Size Chesterfield's amazing success is this. All King Size cigarettes give you quantity, but only Chesterfield King Size gives you quantity plus quality. Premium quality.
That means Chesterfield King Size contains tobaccos of better quality and higher price than any other king-size cigarette. The same fine tobacco as in regular Chesterfield. Enough more of this tobacco to give you over a fifth longer smoke.
So remember, Chesterfield is the only cigarette to give you premium quality in both regular and king size.
Buy 'em either way you like 'em. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, July 10th. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. It was 7:58 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Morning, Joe.
Hi.
Just get in?
Yeah.
Anything in the book?
I'm looking.
What's the matter? You hacked about something?
No. Why do you ask that?
Well, figures you're sore about something. What do you do, take a sour pill? You keep this up, you won't be asked to post toothpaste ads.
Well, that's funny.
All right, Joe. Tell your Uncle Dudley. What's the matter?
Well, it's that court deal yesterday. It was miserable.
Thing you and Gaffney been working out?
Yeah, the white glove bandit came up while you were out on vacation. Spent over a month on it. Covered it from every angle.
Yeah?
Looked like we had the guy any way he turned. We had an idea how much he'd taken on each job. Lee thought he traced him on every move he made on each of the deals. We figured we really had the guy. DA's office thought so, too.
They quit him?
Yeah. Let him walk right out. 12 men, good and true. Let that cheap hoodlum walk right out on the streets a free man.
Well, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Is there Mr. Friday here?
Yes, sir. I'm Friday. Is something I can do for you?
Well, I'm Richard Houston, Naval Intelligence. Deputy Chief Brown directed me to you.
I see. Well, it's my partner, Frank Smith, Lieutenant Houston.
Hello, Smith.
Like, sit down, sir. What is it we can do for you?
Well, we got a weird one. That's why we thought your department ought to be in on it. About all I can tell you is just the skeleton of the thing. We don't know all the details. We haven't gone into it completely yet. We figured you fellas would like to be in on it from the beginning. Looks like it's going to be a police investigation.
Yes, sir.
To begin, I should go back 3 weeks ago and tell you the story as near as we've been able to reconstruct it.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Well, a couple of Marines left the base. They'd just gotten back from Korea, both on a 48-hour pass. We figured they came up here to L.A. They had a lot of back pay in their pockets. We don't know where they started, but they ended up in a cheap hotel. We got a call from the Shore Patrol early Monday morning. They'd gotten a complaint that the two boys were causing a disturbance in the hotel. They picked them up and found they both were in a pretty bad way. They had them shipped to the Naval Hospital down at Long Beach. By the time they got there, they were really rocky.
Well, I'm sorry, sir, but I don't quite see just how we're connected with this.
Well, I'm getting to that.
I'm sorry.
All right, I'm a little long-winded. Anyway, last night, the boys had been AWOL for over 2 weeks. They were brought into the hospital, like I said. Doctors did what they could, but it was too late to help. One of the boys died late last night. We're not sure about the other one. That's where you come in.
Sir?
They were both poisoned.
9:06 a.m. Frank and I talked with Captain Lorman, then we checked out a trip car and left for Long Beach. When we got there, we talked with the doctor in charge. He told us that it would be later that night before the boy would be completely out of danger. He said, however, that we could talk to him if we phrased our questions so that the answers could be kept fairly brief. We looked over the boy's record. His full name was Jack Wayne Walker, age 24. He'd enlisted in the Marine Corps on January 14th, 1950. He'd spent almost a year in the Far East, and his service record had been good until this time. The record of the victim, PFC Edward Monahan, was pretty much the same. The boys had both come from the same town in Arkansas. The date of their enlistment was the same. They'd served overseas the same time. At 3:48 p.m., the doctor ushered us into Jack Walker's room.
Who are you?
Police officers, Jack. We'd like to talk to you.
Well, what's it about? I haven't done anything. At least I don't think I did.
No, it's not that. We'd like to find out what happened while you were up in L.A.
Well, I killed my buddy up there. That's what happened. You heard about that, didn't you?
Yes, we did. That's what we want to talk to you about.
Poor Ed. A year in Korea. Guys taking pot shots at us. Cold, mud. And we got to come back here to get it. I didn't trust that little crumb. I knew we shouldn't have had anything to do with it.
Well, you shouldn't have trusted who, Jack?
Stubby.
You know the rest of his name?
No, just Stubby. I just can't believe it about Ed. We shoved off for L.A. going to have a last fling. Ed was getting married as soon as we got home.
All right, if you could just start right at the beginning.
Oh, sure. Well, first we both had a 48-hour pass. We figured to go to L.A., like I said, for last fling. A few drinks, look at some of the lights, have a little fun. Sort of a bachelor party for Ed before he got hitched, you know. Well, we pulled into town. Let's see,
I think it was Saturday morning. A couple of buddies told us about a joint up there where we could have some fun.
Yeah.
Well, we head up there, and nice little place that hour of the morning, I guess about 10:30. Well, we start in to drink. It gets pretty foggy after that. Like little parts in a jigsaw, you know. You sort of see a little bit of everything, but the whole picture ain't there.
Yeah.
Well, I remember we hung around the place for 2 days, and then it all really goes black. The next thing I remember, we woke up in some flea bag. I remember looking at the calendar on the wall. We was already a couple of days AWOL. Ed and I talked about what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to trying to think up an excuse for the CO for being AWOL. And with our CO, ain't easy. He's had experts try. Ed says he figured out something, so we start for the bus depot, get back to base. On the way, we pass this bar, and Ed says, well, maybe we ought to stop and have one more for the road, so we do. And I don't remember much for a couple more days.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember once we stopped and watched a guy get tattooed. Ed and I got talking about it, you know, whether or not we should have it done. Finally, we figured it was kind of kid stuff, so we didn't. I remember that because it was right after we left the tattoo place. We went to this bar where we met Stubby.
Now, this is the fellow that you were talking about?
Yeah, it's him.
And you met him in the bar?
Yeah. Ed and I was sitting there trying to figure out what we was going to do, you know. We were pretty broke by this time, and then, too, we was over 2 weeks AWOL. Anyway, sliced it, we had big trouble.
Yeah.
Well, we walked into this place. It was about 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon. At least near as I can tell, that's about what time it was. The whole deal gets kind of foggy. We sat down at this bar and ordered a drink, and just sitting there minding our own business, trying to figure what we ought to do. Then this Stubby joker comes up, sits down next to Ed, brings a drink with him.
He was in the bar when you came in, is that right?
Yeah, well, at least I think so. I didn't pay much attention, but he had a drink when he come up to Ed and me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, he got to talking about the Corps, and next thing we know, he's setting up the drink.
Mm-hmm.
The way we was fixed, as long as he wanted to buy, we wasn't going to argue.
Mm-hmm. Did they seem to know this Stubby in the bar?
Yeah, the girl who waits on tables called him by name.
All right, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, well, this Stubby kept going on about how he liked the Corps and how he'd won a whole flock of citations in Korea. Told us all about the time he'd spent in Japan. First we thought he was just throwing a bunch of coconuts at us, but we'd ask him about places in Korea and things you could only know if you was there. He'd come up with the answers all right, but even with all that, there was something that just didn't ring true with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, long about 8 or 8:30 that night, Stubby got in a thrash with the bartender, something about the price of the drink, so he suggested we go up to his place and get a jug, you know, and drink up there. Well, I wasn't too hot for the idea, but Ed said we had nothing to lose, and we didn't have a sack for the night, and there wasn't much dough left, so we shoved off with him.
Where did Stubby live?
A hotel down on 5th. I'll tell you how to find the place.
Same place you were picked up in?
Yeah.
We got the address there.
Oh, okay.
Well, what happened when you got Stubby's room?
Well, we cracked the jug, sat around drinking for a while, and then Ed and I went to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, the next morning we had the biggest hangovers in the entire United States and Canada, both of us. We felt miserable. Ed started beefing about the cheap booze Stubby'd rung in on us. That's when he tried to tout us on them pills.
What pills are those?
Oh, them things supposed to relieve hangovers.
Oh, you mean the kind they sell in drugstores?
Oh, no, not them. Stubby told us about that one. He'd come back to the States. He'd stood some duty in a hospital and said that while he was there, he got them pills. Said there was a special prescription that they was great for head shrinking. He wanted us to try them.
Did you?
Well, no, not right away. He kept after us, though, kidding us about being big, tough Marines with a hangover. And then he took one of the pills, leastwise we thought he did. So Ed and I figured then we didn't have anything to lose.
You took one of these hangover pills then, did you?
Yeah, we both did.
Mm-hmm. What happened then?
Well, nothing right away. Stubby said it'd take a little time for it to take effect. We got up and started to get dressed. Ed and I thought we'd better get back to the base, you know. We'd probably be in enough trouble as it was without worrying about a hangover.
Yeah. You left the room?
No, we was just getting our stuff together, and Ed took sick. Said he had awful pain in his stomach, like a cramp, you know. We asked Stubby if the pill could have caused it. He said no. It must have been the booze.
Yeah.
Well, right about then, I was getting ready to mop up the place with this Stubby. I figured sure he'd given us a Mickey. I couldn't figure why, though. Then it hit me.
That pill, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. Real bad cramps in my stomach. I got real dizzy. The room started to go around. And we asked the Stubby to call a doctor, and that's when we knew he was really in trouble.
How's that?
Well, we knew then he was nuts off his trolley. And neither of us could walk. Ed doubled up and passed out, and I could hardly keep awake. We both just lay there on the floor. I kept asking this bum to get us a medic.
Mm-hmm. Did he?
No, he just stood there and laughed at us. Laughed like a crazy fool. He kept saying we was big, strong Marines. We should be able to take a little stomach ache without running to a doctor.
At no time did he make any attempt to get you medical help?
No, just like I said, he just stood there and laughed at us. Then he got real mean. Got crazy leer on his face. Said he'd show us that he'd fix us up good for what we'd done.
Well, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. All I thought about was getting Ed and me to a doc. About this time, I didn't much care what the little screwball did. Then it really started harping on how he's getting even with us. I tried to get at him. I'd have killed him if I could have. I tried to get at him, but I fell and went out, I guess. And that's when he said that thing about that we wouldn't be the last ones he'd get.
What?
Well, he said like this, you guys are the first, just the first. But there's going to be more, a lot more.
We continued to talk to Jack Walker. He gave us a complete description of the man he'd known as Stubby. And going over the story again with him, there were a few changes in it, but none that couldn't be accounted for by his condition. We got the address of the bar where he'd met Stubby. We checked with the doctor, and he told us that both boys had been given a powerful corrosive poison. He went on to say that it was a miracle that Jack Walker was still alive. 9:26 p.m. Frank and I drove back to Los Angeles. We checked into the office and ran the name Stubby through the moniker file in R&I, but we found nothing. We got out a local and an APB on the description and the name. The stats office started to run on the M.O. Frank and I checked the hotel on 5th Street, and the manager showed us the room, but he said that it had been cleaned and occupied since the two Marines had left. Leighton Prince went over the room, but failed to come up with anything. We took the hotel registration card and booked it in as evidence. The man had signed his name as Alton Richards. The manager gave us the same description as the one we'd gotten from the Marine. We ran the name through R&I, but we failed to come up with any new leads. There'd been no replies to the broadcast, and the staff's office had finished the run and had come up with 4 possible suspects. These were checked out, but they led us nowhere. 2:30 a.m. We checked the bar, but we found it was closed. Wednesday, 8:14 a.m. We briefed Captain Lorman on the developments, and then we went over to again check the bar where the two Marines were supposed to have met Stubby. The place was deserted except for one man drinking a beer. The waitress was sitting in a rear booth filing her fingernails. Frank and I went back to talk to her.
Yeah, something you want?
Well, police officers, miss. We'd like to talk to you.
Thompson.
Yes, ma'am. This is my partner, Joe Friday. My name's Smith.
Yes. Boy, does that sound phony.
Here's my ID card.
Yeah, it's Smith, all right. What do you want?
Do you mind if we sit down?
No, go ahead, live.
Thank you.
What's this all about?
Do you work here steady?
Yeah, most of the time.
What's your name, miss?
Vera. Vera Gay.
Well, Miss Gay, were you working here around the 8th or 9th or the 10th of July?
Yeah, and you can make it Vera.
Mm-hmm. You know most of the people who come in here regular, do you?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Wonder if you look at this description and tell us if you know the man here.
WMA. What does that mean?
White male American.
Yeah, WMA. 36 years, 5'7" to 5'9", 155 pounds stubby.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know him. Comes in here all the time. Nice guy. Loud when he gets drunk. He's always nice to me, though. Tells me I should be in pictures. You know, the movies.
Yes, ma'am. Have you seen him today?
No, he hardly ever gets in before maybe noon, 1 o'clock. It just doesn't bother you, does it? Am I following my nails?
Not at all.
He does bother some people, you know. Like running a piece of chalk down a blackboard.
This Stubby, does he have any other name? Did you know it?
Yeah, Paul Rogers.
That's another one, Joe. Yeah. How do you want to go ahead, miss?
I went out with him a couple of times. Finally gave it up. I couldn't go that route.
What's that, ma'am?
All he talked about was either him in the Marine Corps and what a big hero he was, or else how he was going to get me in pictures, you know, movies.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't come out to California to get in the movies. No, I came out to be a private secretary. Only those jobs are a little hard to get, so I work here. Make enough for coffee and cakes. And when a job comes along, I'll take it. Work in a big office, nice boss. Who knows, he might even marry me. Well, that movie hokum for me. No, sir, not your little Vera.
Did you work on the night of the 9th? It's the night before last?
Let's see. Yeah, I was in.
You happened to see the Stubby Rogers that night?
Well, I got to think about that. Let's see. That was the night we had the fight just before closing. Yeah, he was in earlier.
You happen to notice if he was with anybody?
What's it all about? He do something you want him for?
No, we just like to talk to him.
Yeah. Well, if he did anything, we had nothing to do with it. This is a good place. We got nothing to do with the people who come in. Got the price of a drink, they get served. We don't ask for trouble.
Oh, we aren't going to cause any trouble, miss. We just want to talk to this Rogers.
Yeah, well, as long as we aren't rung into it.
Do you remember if he was with anyone?
Yeah, he was with a couple of Marines. Left with him, had a beef with Sam. He's the night bartender. Complained that the drinks were too high. I don't know what he was crying about. He's been drinking here a long time. Never had problems before.
You saw him leave with these two Marines then?
Yeah, 3 of them walked out. I think actually they sort of floated out. The 2 kids were really boiled.
You remember what time it was when they left?
Oh, that'd be kind of hard to tell. We were pretty busy.
It was pretty important, miss.
Let me think. I guess maybe around 8, maybe 8:30, around in there. It's just a guess, though.
Do you have any idea where this Rogers lives?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. Hotel on South Hill.
Can you give us the address?
Yeah, I got it in the cursive. I should have known he was a phony. Always saying I thought he could get me in pictures, in movies.
Yes, sir.
Don't come that way. Of course, you understand I didn't come out here to get in pictures. I came out to be a private secretary. Here's the address. Here, keep it. I won't be using it anymore.
All right, thank you, Miss Kay. Here's our card. If you think of anything more you think we ought to know, we'd appreciate a call from you.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure appreciate your help.
Well, you never know. Maybe I'll need your help sometime. Matter of fact, you might be able to lend me a hand.
What's that, miss?
You know any picture producers? Movies?
Frank called the name Paul Rogers into the office, and a supplementary broadcast and an APB were gotten out. A stakeout was arranged on the bar. We went back to the city hall, and a check through R&I on the name Paul Rogers netted us nothing. We drove over to the hotel on South Hill. The manager told us that Rogers was not in his room. He went on to say that Rogers had not been using his room regularly for the past week or so, but that he had been in a couple of days before in the company of a soldier, and that as far as he knew, the soldier was still in. In the company of the manager, Frank and I went upstairs. The manager unlocked the door, and we went in.
Wait a minute, Frank. There's someone in bed.
Yeah. Come on, you.
How about it?
Just a minute.
How about it, Joe?
I don't know. He's dead.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
And now a report every smoker should hear.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report published about any cigarette.
A responsible consulting organization reports a study by a competent medical specialist and staff on the effects of smoking Chesterfield. For 6 months, a group of men and women smoked only Chesterfield, 10 to 40 a day, their normal amount. 45% of the group have smoked Chesterfields from 1 to 30 years, for an average of 10 years each. At the beginning and end of the 6 months, each smoker was given a thorough examination, including x-rays, and covering the sinuses, nose, ears, and throat. After these examinations, the medical specialist stated,
"It is my opinion that the ears, nose, throat, and accessory organs of all participating subjects examined by me were not adversely affected in the 6-month period by smoking the cigarettes provided."
Remember this report, and buy much milder Chesterfield, regular or king size.
Wednesday, July 11th, 12:40 p.m. We called the coroner's office, then we got in touch with the crime lab and the photographers. After the pictures had been taken, the body was removed. The victim was a soldier in his mid-30s. On the nightstand beside the bed, we found an empty pill bottle and a suicide note. The note was booked as evidence and turned over to Don Meyer for comparison with the handwriting taken from the hotel registration card that Rogers had signed. The men from Leighton Prince went over the place thoroughly. They came up with several classifiable prints. Fingerprints found on the bottle belonged to the victim. There were several other sets in the room which were not identified. The crime lab went over the room, and they went back to the lab to make their analysis. All officers in the area were alerted to be on the lookout for Rogers. Frank and I talked to the manager of the hotel, a Henry Corey. He told us that Rogers had lived in the hotel for the past 4.5 months. He said that Rogers was quiet, kept pretty much to himself, and for the most part was a good tenant. He said that on several occasions Rogers had gotten behind in his rent, but that he'd always managed to come up with the money. The manager told us that in the conversations he'd had with Rogers, the main topic had been the Marine Corps and the suspect's record overseas. Rogers presented himself as an armchair general, constantly calling down the way the situation was being handled. He would refer to his own exploits, but when questioned about his leaving the service, he became vague and evasive. Additional handwriting samples were obtained and sent to Meyer. The manager told us that the latest victim had come in with Rogers the night before, and that at the time he'd been pretty drunk. They'd gone upstairs, and when Rogers had left in the morning, the manager had assumed that the soldier had gone the night before. 3:20 p.m. Frank and I went back to relieve the stakeout at the bar.
Back again?
Yes, Miss Gay.
Sit down.
Thank you.
It seems like every time I see you, I'm doing something with my nails. This morning filing them, now I'm filing them again. I'm going to put polish on them after this. I guess you think I'm pretty vain.
No, not at all, miss.
A new color called Frosted Rose. You see?
Uh-huh.
Kind of iridescent, what the label says. To sprinkle your nails with stardust.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a pretty bottle, too. They sure put things up nice nowadays. Uh-oh, here comes your boy.
That's Rogers.
Yeah.
Yes, Stubby, what'll it be? Bourbon, Cole. How's it going, Stubby? Same old six as before. Yeah, pretty dull. Yeah, you're doing a great business. No, it's early yet. Here's your drink. It'll be 4 bits. There you go. All right, thanks, good.
All right, Frank, let's go.
No trouble now.
Not unless he makes it.
Hi, fellas. Something you want?
You Paul Rogers?
Yeah, who are you?
Police officers. We'd like to talk to you.
I don't want any trouble in here.
No, there's not going to be any trouble.
Always fights. Why is it everybody comes into a bar and starts fights? Ain't there someplace else to be?
All right, come on, Rogers.
What for? You got nothing to hold me in.
We'll talk to you about that, too.
Well, let me finish my drink.
No, afraid not. Let's go now.
Look, I said I was going to finish my drink. Don't lean.
Let's can it, mister, and go.
I said I was going to finish my drink.
All right, mister, on your feet. Nothing on him. All right, take him to the office.
Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Sure appreciate it.
Well, what's that?
Thought for a minute there you were going to have a fight.
We took the suspect back to the city hall, then we checked the name through the Marine base in San Diego. Lieutenant Richard Houston called back to say that Rogers had received a court-martial and a dishonorable discharge in January of that year. He'd been tried by a military court on a charge of stealing alcohol from the hospital pharmacy and selling it to the patients in the hospital. We stopped in handwriting analysis, and Don Meyer took an exemplar of the suspect's writing. When we checked by the office, there was a message from Sergeants Bill Cummings and Harry Hansen stating that their investigation had shown that the death of the soldier in Rogers' room was suicide beyond any doubt. 7:46 p.m. Frank and I talked to the suspect in the interrogation room.
Terrible thing treating a veteran like
All
this.
right, let's save it, Rogers. There's a few questions we'd like some answers to.
I got nothing to hide.
All right, what were the conditions of your discharge from the Marine Corps?
What do you mean?
Did you get an honorable discharge or a dishonorable discharge?
I had a little trouble. Lousy officers. Never did understand what the problems of the enlisted man were.
What do you do for a living, Rogers?
I work.
Where?
Around.
You have a steady job?
What do you mean steady?
One you've held for, say, more than 6 months?
Haven't been out of the service that long.
Where'd you serve in the Corps?
Japan, Korea.
How long were you there?
About 4 or 5 months.
Why'd you come back?
I was wounded.
How?
What do you mean, how?
Just that. How were you wounded?
Well, I wasn't exactly wounded. I had my feet frostbit.
Mm-hmm. According to this here, you went AWOL and got lost. When they found you, your feet were frozen. Is that right?
What's that you got?
Your record in the Corps.
You got a lot of nerve digging into that. That's what you got me in here for anyway. I done nothing that puts me in line for this kind of treatment.
You know a couple of Marines named Ed Monahan and Jack Walker?
Monahan? Walker? No, I don't think I know.
You ever register in a hotel on 5th Street?
No, I live over on Hill.
You know a soldier named Marty Wilton?
What's he got to do with it?
We found him dead in your room.
You're cracking up.
Yeah, sure, Rogers. We just dreamed we found that body.
Got nothing to do with him. Met him in a bar. He said he wasn't feeling too good. Said he didn't have a place to sleep. I let him have my room. Something wrong in that? Be a little kind, and now even that gets you in trouble.
You sure you don't know a Marine named Ed Monahan?
Positive.
There's something wrong, Rogers. Girl at the bar says she saw you leave the place with 2 Marines. They could have been Monahan and Walker.
Well, maybe I know them. I might and still not know their names.
You didn't take them up to a room you'd rented in a hotel on 5th Street?
No, I told you once I never lived on 5th.
Checked with our handwriting man. He says your writing matches some samples we found on the hotel register.
Maybe I write like somebody else.
No, we don't think so, mister. How about Jack Walker? Maybe you know him, you just didn't remember him.
No, I keep telling you, I don't know them.
Vera says you do.
Well, she's lying.
Is she?
Sure she is. She's trying to save her own skin.
From what?
She doesn't want to stand a rap for murder, can't you see?
Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
I'm saying nothing until I see my lawyer.
You sure you don't want to tell us why you did it?
I got nothing to say.
Makes it tough, Roger.
What do you mean?
Just makes it rough, that's all. Looks like you're going to have to stand a murder rap.
Yeah?
That's the way it looks.
Well, I didn't mean it. I didn't. I just wanted to get even, that's all. Just get even.
For what, Roger?
For the way the court treated me. Kicked me out. I didn't do anything really wrong. Copped a little alcohol, that's all. No harm done.
They look at it a little different.
Yeah, that's the trouble. Stinking brass, they're all alike. They don't care what happens to us, the guys in the field. I tried to get a job. I looked everywhere. I just didn't fit. Seemed like everywhere I went, I got into trouble. I wanted like it was when I first went in. Like it was after boot camp. Walking down the street, girls looking at you, a Marine, a big man. They took that away from me. They wouldn't let me enlist again. I tried, but they wouldn't let me. You can understand what that'd do to a guy, can't you?
I don't know.
Well, it tore me apart. Right then, I decided to get even with all the stinking gyrenes in the world. They wouldn't let me in, and I hated them.
Yeah. Remember what happened the day you gave the 2 boys the pills, do you?
Sure, remember all of it. Oh, they cried for a medic. They weren't big men then. No, sir, they sure weren't.
All right, Rogers, we'll get a stenographer.
Tell me, Sergeant.
Yeah.
Did I get both of them?
No, Walker's going to be all right.
He the young one?
That's right.
A real nice kid. Lucky, too.
Is that right?
Yeah. No worries. Really got it made. Uniform, that's what does it. Uniform makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, well, don't worry. You'll get one.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On November 13th, trial was held in Department 87, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. In modern crime detection, the working detective depends on scientific research. He relies on the services of trained experts in ballistics, communications, fingerprints, to name just a few. He's interested only in facts. And as a smoker, you should be interested only in facts. That's why the report you heard earlier is so important to you. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfield. First such report ever published about any cigarette. Remember it. And next time, buy Chesterfield. Regular or king size, premium quality Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke.
Paul M. Rogers was tried and convicted on one count of murder in the first degree. He was sentenced to life imprisonment in the state penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Virginia Gregg, Jack Crucian. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Either way you like them, regular or king size, Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Tonight, it's Barry Craig, confidential investigator on NBC.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, only cigarette in America to give you premium quality in both regular and king size, brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. You get a call that a bank has been robbed. From the M.O., you know the job was done by a professional. He's made good his escape. Your job? Get him. Here's what leading tobacco publications have had to say about regular and king-size Chesterfield.
U.S. Tobacco Journal, Boston, Massachusetts. Chesterfield cigarettes in the new king size is still maintaining large turnovers in this area. Dealers report that sales continue to climb on this size, and it seems that volume on the regular size has climbed to new heights with its new big brother.
And Tobacco Leaf reports from Chicago. More calls for Chesterfield king-size cigarettes than for most brands being marketed.
The reason for king-size Chesterfield's amazing success is this. All king-size cigarettes give you quantity, but only Chesterfield king size gives you quantity plus quality, premium quality.
That means Chesterfield king size contains tobaccos of better quality and higher price than any other king size cigarette. The same fine tobacco as in regular Chesterfield. Enough more of this tobacco to give you more than a fifth longer smoke.
So remember, Chesterfield is the only cigarette to give you premium quality in both regular and king size.
Buy 'em either way you like 'em. Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, January 21st. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Didion. My name's Friday. It was 2:56 p.m. when I got to room 27A. Robbery.
Joe?
Yeah.
Sure cold out.
Yeah, paper says you'd warm up a little before the end of the week.
Well, I hope so.
How'd your weekend go?
Don't bring it up.
What happened?
At my house, there's only one thing that could happen.
What do you mean?
My brother-in-law, Armand. All the time, he just sits around the house, sits there and reads those detective magazines.
Doesn't he work?
If he's ever held a job, he's kept it a secret. Just moves around between the relatives. This year it's Faye's turn.
He just sits around all day, huh?
Yeah. Reads those detective magazines. Always sending for those books that are sent in the plain wrappers. You know, the ones that tell you how you can have a business in your own home.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, this time he really did it. He sent for one that tells you how to go into the house cleaning business. I thought at first it might be a pretty good deal. You know, if it worked out, he could give Faye a hand with the house. Well, Saturday morning, the book gets to the house with all the formulas and instructions for making the cleaners for the rugs and the upholstery.
Yeah.
First off, he borrows $5 from me to buy the stuff to mix the formulas. Then he goes to the kitchen and takes all of Faye's good pans to mix up the goop in, and it smells terrible. All those bleaches and soaps. I'm sitting in the front room watching television. All in all, I'm pretty comfortable. He comes in, he says the room is filthy, and he's going to clean it. Tells me to get out of the room and that he's going to surprise all of us.
Yeah.
Well, he did. Faye and I took the kid down to the barber's to have her haircut, did a little shopping for the weekend. You should have seen the house when we got back, Joe. Just miserable.
What had he done?
First off, he wasn't there. Left a note on the kitchen table telling us that he was out for a walk. I kind of figured what had happened, so Faye and me walked into the living room. Joe, you wouldn't believe it.
Is that so?
Faye almost fainted.
Pretty awful, huh?
Worse than that. The room was beautiful. Everything in it was clean as a whistle. All spotless. Curtains, carpet, the upholstery. Even the tables had been waxed.
Well, what's wrong with that? Sounds to me like a pretty good deal.
Faye.
But what about her?
Right away, she starts climbing all over me, reads me off for being so mean to him. Says all about how I should be ashamed of myself, said that I should have thought of the house cleaning gimmick myself. I should have given him a hand in cleaning up the place, and that the next day off, we have to do the whole house. I tell you, Joe, no matter what the guy does, it always ends up making me look bad.
Well, you say you've only got this year with him, huh?
Yeah. Then he goes to Faye's sister in Piedmont. I'll sure be glad when that time comes.
Yeah, don't blame me. Hot shot, I'll get it. ADT 211, bank robbery in progress. It took us a little over 4 minutes to get to the bank at the corner of Lebanon and Broadway. In that time, the bandit had completed the robbery and made good his escape. A radio car had arrived at the scene, and the officers had gotten a description of the car and of the bandit. They'd called the information into communications, and a broadcast was gotten out to all cars in the vicinity to be on the alert for the holdup man. 2:40 p.m., Frank and I arrived at the bank.
Back there, bank guard.
Yeah.
I couldn't, Oliver. What do you want me to do? Try to stop him? Have him shoot that gun off? You'd have killed half the people in here.
I'm not saying that you should have actually tried to stop him. All I'm saying is that there is something that you should have done. You just stood there and looked at it. You could see the gun. There must have been something you could do.
I beg your pardon, sir.
You get away. You're probably in cahoots with the robber. You probably came back to get the rest of the money. Well, Gibson, don't just stand there. Stop these men.
We're police officers, sir.
You see, Gibson, they're police officers. You have a badge or something? After this, I don't think I'll trust anyone again.
Yes, sir. Here's our identification.
Oh, yes, Officer Friday.
This is my partner, Frank Smith.
How do you do?
Hi.
I suppose you want to ask me a lot of questions?
Well, there are some things we'd like to know, sir.
You'd like to talk in my office, I guess. It'll be more quiet there.
That'll be fine.
Would it be all right if Gibson came along? I'd like to have him see how a couple of real detectives work.
Yes, sir. I think it'll be all right.
Fine. Back this way. Oh, Officer Friday, this is Gibson, the bank guard, and I use the term loosely. This is Mr. Jones.
That's Smith, sir. Frank Smith.
Oh, yes, Smith. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just sit down any place.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, you listen good, Gibson.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Allen, you were the victim, were you?
I certainly was. It was just 3 o'clock. Gibson was just putting up the chain across the door, to keep people out.
Yes, sir.
Gibson was out there. I was in here in my office. Go ahead, Gibson. Tell the officers about it.
Yes, sir. Well, he parked his car right in front of the bank, and when he pulled up, I thought it was a customer trying to get in before the bank closed. I held the chain for him.
That was nice of you.
What happened then, Mr. Gibson?
As soon as he got to the doorway, I saw the shotgun. He had it kind of under his coat. I tried to stop him, but he had the gun pointed right at me. He said that if I made a move, he'd as soon shoot me as look at me.
Mm-hmm. You sure it was a shotgun, are you?
Yes, sir. I could tell it was a 12 gauge. It was sawed off. Told me to get over in that little alcove near the entrance to our escrow department.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Then he told me to hand over my gun. I started to get it out of the holster, and I thought maybe I'd have a chance to surprise him, but he must have known what I was planning.
Why do you say that?
He told me to face into the corner. Then he took the gun out of the holster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did what he told me.
What happened then?
He asked me where the manager was. I pointed out his office.
Well, to this time, did any of the people in the bank have any idea what was going on?
No, sir. The way he acted, he knew what he was doing. Right off, I knew there wasn't anything I could do. I kept thinking about the people in the bank. That shotgun didn't want anyone to get hurt.
The only bright thing you did.
All right, you want to go on? What happened then?
Well, like I said, he asked where the manager's office was. I showed him, and he told me he wanted me to go back there with him.
Uh-huh.
We walked back there. He put the shotgun under his coat, and by some miracle, nobody saw it.
That's where he brought me into the picture. He just walked in, told me it was a stick-up. He had this little leather bag, the kind a doctor uses.
Mm-hmm.
He opened it up, told me to walk in front of him.
Uh-huh.
He made me carry the bag. Kept the gun at my back all the time. I could feel it. Made me walk down the row of windows, the ones into the teller's boxes. Each one, he made me stop and ask the tellers for the money.
Did he touch anything at all, do you remember?
No, he wore gloves all the time. He was real careful, wouldn't touch anything. After I put the money into the bag, he'd tell each one of them that if they made a sound, he'd kill me, then come back and kill them, too. It was terrible. Almost scared me to death.
Well, who was it that turned in the alarm here?
Walter, the cleanup man, sir. He was in the back of the bank, and he came out of the vice president's office. He saw the robber, and then he sneaked back into the room and called you. The bandit just barely got out of the place when the police car pulled up.
We gave the other officers a description of the car and the bandit.
Yes, sir. We heard the broadcast. All the cars in the area have been alerted.
I wonder if I could have a drink of water, officer. I'm so nervous. I'm still not over it. My stomach's going to be grinding for a month.
You're a member of the Federal Reserve here, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the Federal Bureau of Investigation will be in on it, too.
Yes, sir.
Water's right over here. I keep it in the office for my pills. I have ulcers, you know.
Yes, sir.
Would you like a drink?
No, sir. No. Thank you. Well, what happened after the man finished taking the money from the cages?
He walked out of the front of the place and got in his car. By that time, I could hear the sirens of the police car coming. He just left. On the way out, he said if we told him anything about him, he'd come back and kill us.
Yes, he looked right at me when he said it. You've got to give me some sort of protection. I'm not going to make a sitting duck of myself.
We'll take care of that, sir. Could you give us a description of the man, sir?
I've already given it to the two officers who are here.
Well, we know, sir, but if you wouldn't mind.
Of course not.
How tall would you say he was?
Oh, about 5'11", maybe 6 feet.
How old would you say he was?
30, 35, round in there.
Mm-hmm. How much do you think he weighed?
Oh, about 160, maybe more. I'm not very good at guessing weights.
How about his coloring? Was he dark or light?
Light. He had real light blonde hair. His eyebrows were almost invisible. They were so light that you almost couldn't see them at all. Same with his eyelashes.
Mm-hmm. How about his clothes?
Beg your pardon?
His clothes? What was he wearing?
Well, he had on a blue shirt.
No, I'm sorry, sir. I think it was a white shirt.
Was it? No, I'm sure it was blue. I remember because he was wearing a brown coat. I thought that he certainly didn't have very good taste, what with wearing a blue shirt and a brown coat. No, Gibson, no. The shirt was blue. No tie. Brown coat and black loafer shoes. I remember these because they were the only thing about him that looked good. They looked like those ones that are advertised in the magazines, you know, Stegans or something like that. Black.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything unusual about him?
I beg pardon?
Anything unusual about him? Anything that might cause you to remember him, know him if you saw him again?
Well, there were the bandages.
What's that, sir?
When he came in, he had bandages on his face. One over his right eyebrow, another on his chin, right here, sort of on the throat.
You mean regular bandages?
No, sir. They were those adhesive kind, you know, with the gauze and the tape all together.
Oh, yeah. And you say he had one over the right eyebrow and one on his chin?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it was a white shirt.
I said it was blue. Are you trying to say that I don't know blue when I see it?
No, sir. I just think that you might have made a mistake in all the excitement.
Officer.
Yes, sir?
It was a blue shirt.
All right, sir. How about his car, the one he got away in?
It was parked right out in front.
Did you see it?
Certainly, I saw it. I was standing right in the door when he drove away.
Well, can you describe the car for us?
Yes, like I told the other officers, it was a late model Buick, dark blue, a coupe.
I'm sorry, sir, but it was a green Ford sedan.
Well, let's see if we can't let Mr. Allen tell his story, Mr. Gibson. We'll check it with you when we finish with him, all right?
I don't know what you're trying to prove with these officers. After the way you handled the affair, there's no use trying to impress them with your prowess as a detective. It was a dark blue Buick coupe.
Now, anything unusual about the car that you could see? Any dented fenders, stickers, windshield emblems, anything like that, would you remember?
No, I didn't notice anything special.
No, sir. It looked pretty new as far as I could tell.
All right, fine. Well, you two gentlemen have helped us a lot here. There are some questions we'd like to ask the other people in the bank.
Oh, yes, that's what the other officers said. I told them all to stay. You like to talk to them now?
Yes, sir.
Fine, I'll send them in here to you.
No, we can talk to them out there, sir. Be all right.
Oh, fine. Gibson, maybe you can help them.
Officer.
Yes, Gibson.
I didn't want to tell you while we were in there. He'd probably make some remark. I didn't even tell the other officers. It's about the license number of the bandit's car.
Did you get it?
Well, not all of it, sir. Just the first 3 numbers.
The bank guard went on to explain that in the confusion, he had failed to give the information about the license number to the other officers. We continued to talk to him. He told us that the bandit had tied a cloth over the rear license plate, and that as he drove away from the scene, a corner of the cloth had come loose, and he was able to see the first 3 numbers of the plate. We called this information into communications, and a supplemental broadcast was gotten out. In company with agents from the FBI, we talked to the rest of the employees in the bank. From them, we got a fairly good description of the holdup man and of his car. They agreed that it was a late model dark Ford sedan. With FBI agent Tom Ashford, Frank and I checked by the office and asked the stats office to make a run on the M.O. We checked the oddity file on R&I on the possibility that the tape might have been used to cover scars or other marks that would make identification easier. 9:46 p.m. We stopped and got some sandwiches and coffee, and then we went to the DMV offices.
Hi, Joe.
George, you know Frank.
Yeah, hi. How's it going, George?
This is Tom Ashford, agent from the FBI. He's working with us on this thing.
Oh, hi. Glad to know you.
Yeah, same here.
Where do we find the files here, George?
Oh, what's the number again?
1U5. That's all we have.
Not much.
Oh, you'll find the files for that number in these drawers here. You know what kind of car it is?
Yeah, Ford sedan, late model. We're not sure what year.
Uh-huh. Well, go to it. I don't envy you.
Yeah, 9,999 possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it for the night. I think I'll shove off. Anything you guys need, there'll be somebody here. You can give me a call. I'll leave my home number on the desk.
Right, thanks a lot. Good night, George.
Good night. Hope you find it before I get back.
Yeah.
So do we.
Well, let's get to it.
Right.
Let's see. 1U5. It took us the next 8 hours to go through the almost 10,000 license registrations. Each file card had to be checked for a similarity of make and model. Each automobile in the Los Angeles area was listed, and then each one in the entire state. Each of them had to be checked out. 6:02 a.m., Tuesday, January 22nd. We finished checking the files.
That does it. I didn't know there were so many cars in California, let alone that many with a license that begins with 1U5 in the Los Angeles area.
What's the total, Joe? How's it look? Well, we got a place to start here. 302 names. 6:30 a.m., we checked back into the office, and then we went home to get a couple of hours' sleep. At 8:30 a.m., Frank, Tom, and I met in the robbery office. Captain Didion had assigned 4 other teams of men to work with us. The FBI had also assigned additional agents. The list of possibles was divided up, and we began to check them out. We spent 3 days on it. In each instance, we didn't talk to the person involved directly, but to their neighbors. We didn't explain what it was that we were after, merely that we were conducting an investigation. We ran into the usual false leads, the usual petty jealousies, and the neighborhood feuds. It all served to slow us down and make the job more difficult. There'd been no replies to the local or the APB that we'd gotten out on the car or the bandits. The stats office had come up with 2 possibles on the M.O. These were both checked out, but led us nowhere. We went back to checking out the license plate numbers. January 28th. The names on our list were down to 7. The next one was a Mr. Ivan Q. Field. We rang the bell to the house next door and waited.
Yes?
Sorry to bother you, ma'am. Police officers, wonder if we could talk to you.
Police? Well, what's it about? I haven't done anything.
No, ma'am. We'd just like to ask you a couple of questions about your next-door neighbor, Mr. Field.
If I should have known. I thought a couple of times about calling you about him myself. Miserable man.
I wonder if we could come in, ma'am. Might be better than talking on the phone.
You just bet you can. Come right in. I'll tell you what you want to know.
Thank you very much.
What do you want him for? What's he done?
Well, we're just conducting an investigation, ma'am. A few things we'd like to know about Mr. Field.
Uh-huh. Well, you don't have to play cozy with me. I know what kind of people they are. Can't understand it either.
Ma'am,
I said I couldn't understand it. His brother's so nice, a real gentleman. Seems hard to believe that they'd even be related, let alone be brothers. Nothing but trouble since he and his wife moved in.
You mean it's not their house?
Oh, of course not. Don't think either one of them could afford to rent on a one-room apartment, let alone a house.
Would you know if they have a car?
No, not them. Like I said, I don't think he's ever worked. Just lives off his brother. His brother has a car. It's real nice.
What kind of a car is it, ma'am? Do you know?
Yes, it's a Ford.
Do you know what model?
Model?
Yes, ma'am. Is it a coupe or a sedan?
Oh, sedan. Real nice. Sort of a dark green. Only I guess it really isn't dark. Then it isn't light, really. Just green. Pretty, though.
Yes, ma'am. Do you know if Mr. Field is in right now?
Yes, I think so. I saw him out in the backyard a couple of hours ago, him and his wife. She was prancing around in one of them skimpy little sunsuits. Terrible. No decency at all. I tell you, officer, neither one of them's any good.
Do you know what Mr. Field does for a living?
Oh, you mean does he work?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, no. At least I've never seen any indication that he does. All he does is just sit around the yard and throw rocks at my cat. It's terrible. That's what I was going to call you about. Isn't there a law or something about throwing things at poor, dumb animals?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, cats aren't really dumb. Lots of times I think they're a lot smarter than some people I know.
I wonder if you could describe Ivan Field for us, ma'am.
Oh, sure. He's kind of a little man, not very big.
About how tall, ma'am?
Oh, maybe 5'7".
How about his coloring?
You mean his hair?
Yes, ma'am.
Dark, very dark.
It lets us out.
It looks that way. Well, thank you very much, ma'am. Sorry to cause you all this trouble.
Oh, no trouble at all. Are you going to arrest him now?
No, ma'am.
Well, why not? What about the rocks and my cat?
Well, I think the SPCA are the people you want to talk to on that.
Well, all right. But I tell you right now, Mr. Field isn't going to like it. He likes my cat. He isn't going to like the idea at all when he hears about it. Just wait until he gets home. I'll tell him about how his brother's been acting.
Well, just a minute, ma'am.
Yes?
You mean that the man living next door isn't Ivan Field?
No, I didn't say it was. It's his brother, Harry.
Brother?
What's the matter with you, young man? Don't you hear well? Everything I say, you ask me to repeat.
Well, I don't mean to, ma'am. Just that I want to be sure of what you say.
What's going on here? First you ask me a lot of questions about Mr. Field, and then I tell you that he isn't home. He and his wife went back east for the holidays. They haven't come back yet. While he was gone, he said that his brother could use the house. I thought at first it would be nice. Then I found out. Harry is nothing like his brother, nothing at all.
Well, I wonder if you could describe him for us.
My, you want to know about everybody, don't you?
Well, we'd just like a description of Harry Field, ma'am, that's all.
Well, he's taller than Ivan. Harry must be close to 6 feet. Doesn't look anything like Ivan in any other way. Ivan's dark and Harry's light. His hair almost doesn't have any color. He's real blonde.
How long ago did they move in?
Well, now, let me see. Elizabeth, that's my Persian cat. Well, Elizabeth had her last litter in December. December the 12th. Harry and his wife moved in the next morning. I remember that because I was up most of the night with Elizabeth. She didn't need me. Awfully independent. But it was the morning that they moved in. Oh, I remember it well. Elizabeth had 6 little kittens. It was December the 13th when Harry moved in.
And they've been using Ivan Field's car?
Oh, my, yes. Hardly a day goes by but what they don't drive it somewhere.
I wonder if we could use your phone, ma'am.
Oh, sure. It's on the table there in the hall.
Thanks. I'll check the name through R9. Okay. Would you happen to know if this Harry Field has any marks or scars on him?
Well, now, let me see. I think so. Seems to me that I saw him and his wife out in the backyard one day. He was wearing swimming trunks, and she was in one of those sun suits I told you about. Disgraceful.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, it seems to me that he had a scar on his leg. Yes, just above the knee. I think it was the right leg.
No, what I meant, ma'am, was does he have any marks on his face, on his forehead, or on his chin?
No marks.
Oh.
Oh, wait a minute. The other day I noticed he had a cut over his right eyebrow. It looked like he'd been in a fight. Probably a drunken brawl.
Joe? Yeah, anything?
Talked to Cunningham. He checked the name. Looks like it might be the same one.
What's that?
They paroled a Harry Q. Field from San Quentin. Description checks out.
When'd they parole him?
December 10th last year. Did a term for robbery.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Chesterfield was first to name its ingredients. Ingredients that give you the best possible smoke. Now, Chesterfield is first to give you scientific facts in support of smoking.
Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfields. First such report published about any cigarette.
A responsible consulting organization reports a study by a competent medical specialist and staff on the effects of smoking Chesterfields. For 6 months, a group of men and women smoked only Chesterfield. 10 to 40 a day, their normal amount. 45% of the group have smoked Chesterfields from 1 to 30 years, for an average of 10 years each. At the beginning and end of the 6 months, each smoker was given a thorough examination, including x-rays, and covering the sinuses, nose, ears, and throat. After these examinations, the medical specialist stated,
"It is my opinion that the ears, nose, throat, and accessory organs of all participating subjects examined by me were not adversely affected in the 6 months period by smoking the cigarettes provided."
Remember this report, and buy Chesterfields either way you like them, regular or king size. Premium quality Chesterfields, and much milder.
January 28th, 4:30 p.m. We called the office and told them of the latest developments. Tom Ashford called the local FBI office, and arrangements were made to take Harry Field and his wife into custody. A further check on him was made through R&I, and we found that his record listed 4 arrests for armed robbery, with only 1 conviction. He spent 4.5 years in San Quentin before he'd gotten his parole. The name of his brother was also checked. He had no previous record. The car in Field's driveway matched the one used by the bandit. 5:12 p.m. The men from robbery arrived, and the plan for taking Field was formulated. The working detective knows that to successfully apprehend an armed and dangerous suspect, he must act quickly and employ the one big advantage on his side, the element of surprise. By moving rapidly before the suspect becomes aware of any attempt to apprehend him, the officer, in many cases, can not only avoid bloodshed, but can often have a better chance of preserving any and all physical evidence necessary to prosecute the suspect. 5:36 p.m. We were ready to move in.
All set, Joe. The men are around back.
Good. No indication he knows what's up. The lights are still on. Let's hope it stays that way.
Officer? Mr. Friday?
The Jenkins woman.
Yeah.
Officer!
Ma'am, would you mind keeping your voice down? We don't want Field to know we're here.
Well, I'm not talking loud, but there's something I want you to know.
Well, it'd be better if you went back into your house, ma'am. Just stay there till this is over, will you?
That's sort of what I want to tell you about.
Ma'am?
Well, I got to thinking, and I figured maybe Harry wasn't too bad a sort after all.
We don't want to be rude here, but I think it'd be better if you go back in your house. All this talking's allowed to let him know that we're here.
But that's just it. I don't want anybody hurt, so I called him.
What?
I called him. Told him he didn't have a chance to give himself up.
Unknowingly, Mrs. Jenkins had made it impossible to take the suspect without violence. By warning him, she had put him on the alert. We had no alternative now but to apprehend him as best we could. 5:40 p.m.
Caleb and Crowley are covering the back. Other fellows are covering the side windows.
All right, let's go.
What do you want?
Open up. Come on, Field. We want to talk to you.
Yeah, I'll be there in a minute. Take it easy.
Open up, Field. Police officers.
All right, I'll be there in a minute.
Let's go. Install it. All right. Locked. Come on, let's hit it.
All right.
All right, stand
Hey,
still,
what are you
mister.
doing? The fireplace, Joe.
I'll get it.
Guy's on parole. You cops won't leave him alone. I'm straight.
Bag full of money, Joe. Partially burned.
My money. I could do what I want with it.
You bet you can. Hands behind you. Come on.
I'll shake him down.
All right. He's clean, Joe.
You got him, huh?
Yeah, we got part of the loot, too. He's trying to burn it.
Crowley and I'll shake the rest of the house.
Right, Mac. All right, how about it, Field? We got the money, people who can identify you. Car parked in the driveway fits the description. You've been through this before. You got out of queue on December 10th. You pulled this job on January 21st. Is that right?
Like I said, I fell once. I did my time.
Joe?
Yeah, Mac.
Found his wife hiding in the back bedroom. Found a sawed-off shotgun.
All right, let's get him out of here.
Say, Frank?
Yeah?
Message came in for you before I left the office. Forgot about it.
Say who it was from?
No, I didn't leave a name. Here's a number. Why don't you phone right away?
I'll call it now.
We can take Field in.
Good, Mac. Thanks. We'll be right behind you. We want to talk to his wife anyway.
Okay, Field, let's go.
All right, come on, Frank. Come on. Hollywood 24709. I don't know anybody with that number. Well, a simple way to find out is to call him, isn't it?
It's kind of late.
Well, go ahead and call him anyway. Yeah, here's the phone.
I'll check with you later, Joe. Frank.
Right, Tom. We'll check it.
Bye, Tom.
Come on, let's go.
I want to use the phone.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
You got a dime?
Just a minute. Yeah. I'll leave it for the call. Wonder who it is. Hello. What place is this? Oh. Well, this is Frank Smith. Were you looking for me? Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Oh. Yeah, that's the right address. Yeah. I should have known. Well, what's that? Call from the Murphy House Cleaning Company. What would they want? My brother-in-law. Called him in to clean up our house. Yeah, what about it? Now they want to know where to send the bill.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On February 19th, trial was held in federal court, City of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Before a case goes to trial, the working detective has to get all the evidence. He interviews witnesses, takes statements, checks and rechecks. He tries to get all the facts. As a smoker, you too should be interested in facts. You should know Chesterfield is first to give you scientific data in support of smoking. Nose, throat, and accessory organs not adversely affected by smoking Chesterfield. The first such report ever published about any cigarette. Remember that. And next time, buy Chesterfield. Get them regular or king size. You'll find premium quality Chesterfield give you the best possible smoke.
Harry Q. Field was tried and convicted of violation of the federal bank robbery statute. He received a sentence of 20 years in a federal penitentiary, McNeil Island, Washington. The investigation showed his wife, Dora Field, was not implicated in any way in the robbery. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Frazier. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Whit Connor, Jack Crucian. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Either way you like them, regular or king size, Chesterfield gives you the best possible smoke. Much milder Chesterfield.
Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Tonight it's Barry Craig, confidential investigator on NBC.